Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the March 2022 Sequelisers live stream. I am your host, as always, Jack Chambers, and joining me, it's Tim Matum.
Hello, feet.
Straight in there, Tim. Love it. I appreciate the enthusiasm. I don't want to know why you're enthusiastic about that, but we'll get to that maybe later on.
I believe in tackling the elephant in the room as soon as I enter the room.
Yep. That's the thing. Speaking of feet and elephants in the room, it's Matthew Stogden.
Hello, the N-word. Because while Tim tackles the elephant, I'm going to shoot it in the face.
Wow. We've already got
no context
emojis there.
Really bad.
Straight away for feet emojis. Hello, everybody in the live chat. Thank you for joining us. We are going to be talking about Quentin Tarantino, if you hadn't already guessed, by feet and the N-word, as Matthew put it so eloquently. We'll be talking about, as we often do on this live stream kind of thing that we do every month, a Director Showdown. So we'll have a little tournament bracket of the director's highest rated films. In this case, I think it's all of his feature films, right? Because Tarantino doesn't actually have that many.
Technically, yes. The way he
there's a lot of weird shit. Who'd have thought with Quentin?
Yeah, we are considering that he has 10 films in a bracket that we've assembled, and some would say that's 9, and I would arguably be one of them. But for purposes of a neat, clean, seeded bracket, we're saying it's 10.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
We'll get into all the exclusions and justifications.
We certainly will. Yes. But anyway, how are you, Tim? How have you been since we last recorded an episode together earlier this week?
I'm okay. I've mostly been editing.
Nice.
Our listener feedback episode went live yesterday for patrons, we have the last of our bonus episodes also for patrons at the $10 or higher tier. Are what we've watched recently, which will be going up next week as well, before the final inter-season episode, and then we're on to season 10. So yeah, I've been editing away and trying to ignore the looming deadline of pitches that I need to get ready for season 10.
Me too, Tim. Me too. To go behind the curtain a little bit, my partner Emma is away on a hen do at the moment, all this weekend. So I have full control of both TVs, which is lovely. And so I've been watching all of the films
simultaneously.
Yeah, the good film and the bad sequel at the same time, and just see if cross-fading them and see if they reference each other.
Okay.
No, I've been watching all the shit films on the big screen because often I can't get away with watching it on hers is the 4K really nice TV, and I've got the other one next to it. So usually I'm stuck on either the other one or my phone or laptop. Like, I am not watching this with you. Get it off my screen right now. So, okay, fine. So yeah, I've been catching up on all of the season 10 stuff I hadn't seen previously or needed to, rewatch or whatever. So that's been interesting. There's a lot of shit.
Let's be fair. A lot of our films don't deserve 4K. They barely deserve 1080p.
Some of them are barely available in 1080p, so that's fun as well. Matt, how have you been? I know you've been busy filming some Super Happy Kill Time, right?
I have. I was trying to figure this out earlier, and it feels like it's wrong, but it is correct. It's the first web series filming I've done this year. I did some filming with Yanis and Ryan and Stuart as an Ashens a couple of Sundays ago. That was fun for sketches and things. So that was really good to be just, actor and camera boy and in the background and stuff. So that was very fun. So I was filming some Super Happy Kill Time today. I'm a little bit, little pink, just a little, a touch of the sun has caught me. But that's not too bad, to be fair.
So you didn't get burnt on your big baldy head then?
What a delicate way to phrase it.
No, you know me. I'm known for my delicate approach, Matthew.
It's fine. It could be a lot. It's warm, but that's because I'm a hot-blooded male. But yeah, it's fine. But no, filming was really fun. Two of the actors who we've been working with on this show, just to a bit of clarity, I guess. I wrote this series in 2016 with some little bits I've changed over time and various adjustments, but it's basically 50 episodes of a web series. I thought, no, I want to have a start, middle, and an end. And we started filming it in 2017. And there are 6 seasons and a spin-off. And I think I'm about 3 or 4 very small shooting days away from having everything. And then seasons 4, 5, and 6 will be released over the next 3 years. And then a spin-off the year after that. But it's surreal that we've got footage in the final episode, in episode 50, that we shot in 2017. It's like, holy crap. But it was fun. It was really nice seeing the actors in question, and we wrapped them today, so it was a nice little emotional thing, because they've been playing those roles for literally 5 years, on and off. So yeah, it was really good. Thank you very much. And I don't think I have anything to edit at the minute for Sequelisers. I think I'm all good and set, basically. So
lucky you, Matthew.
My writing's fine, so I'm all right. Yeah, that's me.
Well, let's turn to the chat, shall we? We've got a few of the regular faces in here, as we often get on these live streams. I shared the foot emoji there from Remy earlier. Hello, Remy. Welcome to the show. Always a pleasure to have you.
That was a tasteful
That
emoji.
is a yes. We had this discussion on the Discord earlier. Funnily enough, there's the way Apple, so iOS devices and Android devices, display the foot emoji is very different and like graphically different. It was unpleasant. I'll see if I can find it. So Tyler, who's one of the guys on the Discord, was showing us. He replied oh, hey, reminder, we're doing a live stream later on. It's about Quentin Tarantino. And he just replied with, and I see if I can show my phone on the screen here, 3 foot emojis.
Mm.
It's like, okay, cool.
Kind of Monty Python-esque.
Yeah.
Very much
Stamped
so.
down.
Very much so. And he said, oh, it's a bit weird that they're all left feet. And what you can't tell from that picture is they're all right feet. And I was like, what are you talking about? They're all right feet. It's like, no. They're all left feet. And on iOS, they look like this.
Oh.
What the shit?
They're full on, like, dirty soled, stampy left feet. And I was like, oh, well, that's an escalation, I feel, from Apple. That's a statement by Apple.
That's definitely a pervier foot.
Right? That's a much pervier foot. The other one looks fucking disembodied and, like, severed off in some kind of, like, Saw or Seven kind of way. But that one is more gross and pervy to me for some reason.
Yeah.
Just this big old sole of a foot in your face. Like,
I see. It could be a right print. We're seeing it as a left thing coming down, but should be a right thing in the floor. It's only you who choose to make it pervy.
It's the yellow color of the skin of emoji.
Yeah.
There is a footprint one which is separate, which is hold on, that one there.
Yeah,
sure.
I know this is terrible fucking video.
Wait, so that's human feet but animal hands.
Yes. Human feet,
like
animal
that.
hands.
Or it's a
Some
man
weird
sneaking up behind a bear.
Sneaking up behind. Fucking.
Either way, it all got gross very quickly because that's
Tarantino.
what our Discord is like. You know, you mention one director's name and they're like, cool. People are fucking bears and there's feet everywhere. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. Also, regulars in the chat. Hello, Xenos, a executive producer. You probably know the name of him if you ever listened to the podcast. Ernie Collins, who I see regularly, always represented by Psyduck for whatever reason in the Discord and things like that.
Respect.
Yeah. Tim A, the fantastic Scott Pilgrim cosplayer in that little photo there, which we've covered when we did the Edgar Wright episode. We featured Tim and discussed his cosplays before as well. General Pandemonium, hello, welcome. Another regular there. And we've got Kieran, another regular of ours as well. Hello, welcome everybody. And we also have a very special birthday boy, Dr. Vincent Gain. Hey, hello, Dr. Vincent. How are you? Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. Happy birthday, which is also Quentin Tarantino's birthday tomorrow, which is totally what we planned, obviously. Yeah, we did that on purpose.
Yes.
Totally planned. And not only is it Vincent's birthday tomorrow, he also is a host on a movie podcast of his own called Invasion of the Poddy People, which you can find on the Snakebite Horrorcast Network. by searching on your podcast apps, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, if you want to go and wish Vincent a happy birthday, please do it in the chat down below. And yeah, go and subscribe to his podcast. Go listen to his podcast. Give him a little birthday present of a subscribe. Because that's the kind of thing we say on YouTube, isn't it?
I guess.
Smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, all that kind of stuff.
I don't know if what we say. I've heard a few episodes. I've heard the Batman one and the Oscar one. Solid stuff. And an earlier one, because again, like I do the cardinal sin where I better listen to the first episode, knowing full well from our podcast.
Don't do that for us. Yeah. Yeah. We've changed a lot in those 5 years, and we are coming up to our 5-year anniversary very, very soon. On the 2nd of May, it will be 5 years since we released episode 1 out to the public and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. And then 12 days after that, I get married. So that's the thing as well.
Crazy, man.
Yeah. Which one am I celebrating more? You'll have to tune in and find out.
You have to tune into the wedding?
Tune into the live stream of the wedding. Yeah, I'll live stream the wedding.
Yeah,
I'll bring my mic. I'll have a little overlay as like a banner across the bottom of the top table and stuff. And just be like,
anyone
hello everybody,
knows,
welcome to my wedding.
Jack's fiance knows none of that shit's coming even close to the wedding.
No, not even. No.
Halfway through the vows, you just turn to the crowd and start trying to sell them NordVPN.
I wish, Tim. I wish we had NordVPN.
That would be great. No, he's just going to Ric Flair and go, woo! Just chop up and see what happens. And what happens, he gets his arm broken. And then set.
I did try and get some wrestling stuff into my wedding, but that was
vetoed heavily.
Yes, vetoed. Yes, that's the diplomatic way of putting it.
I think you should just come out with like full proper morning suit, but with like giant knee pads on.
Oh, I think like
knee pads and elbow pads.
Greased up his pants.
Tearing it off would be amazing, and just into. Or have that with like the Undertaker trench coat and the hat over the top or something like that.
Can you drive a motorbike into your wedding?
No.
First question: can you ride a motorbike? Is the
Also no. Despite the fact my dad is like a lifelong biker, a bunch of my friends were bikers growing up and stuff. I can't even ride a fucking bicycle, let alone a motorbike. So
I can ride both, but to see me on either, I look like I should suit a motorbike. Kind of don't.
You look like you suit a penny farthing, Matthew.
Yeah,
it's true. Because on a bicycle,
you look like you suit a sedan chair.
I'll take that. No, I go really slowly and go whoa, 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 like it's going too fast, and I do this because I can't seem to cycle in a straight line. It's, as my wife puts it, fucking ridiculous.
That makes sense. Tim, how are your cycling skills?
Terrible. Never learned to ride a bike.
With universally shit on bicycles.
Apparently. I know how to skate you fuckers then. Very slowly.
We'll just wait until you fall off, catch up, and beat you up, man.
That sounds uncomfortably accurate. I've been in a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, I've got a little tease for you guys, actually, and I haven't even told the Sequelisers. I have bought some board game / trivia games for us to play on future live streams. I won't reveal what they are yet, but they are legit licensed stuff and stuff I think I want to start introducing into the outtakes and stuff like that. There is a really cool company who make fantastic board games called Big Potato Games.
Oh, yeah,
I bought you the Top of the Pops thing for you, Tim. I bought that for you. I think it was your birthday most recently, or Christmas, whatever it was. They've got a couple of movie-themed games, and I may have bought them for us to play on future live streams and stuff, so we can have a... I wonder if it'd be cool to have like a little ongoing tally of like one of us hosts and then the other two battle it out, and we keep a little score every week of whether it's outtakes or live streams or whatever we end up doing. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And I don't think they're all trivia-based, so Matt just doesn't just run away with it. But
him as the trivia lad. He can always catch
that is true, as evidenced by the Twitter handle at the bottom of the screen. He is Trivia Lad. So, yeah.
No, I tonight am the Trivia Lad in the running order. I can't do any.
Tonight, Michael, I will be Trivia Lad. That's the smoke and like the.
Is that what that was? I just saw fingers coming in like a fucking squid.
That's my wrestling pyro for my wedding. Is what that is. So I tried to get green lasers for my wedding, and that wasn't allowed. I I talked
Not
about
the venue, right? That wasn't the thing.
Well, I didn't even get to the venue. That's how quickly it was vetoed. So we had a meeting with the like organizer and owner of the venue the other day, and kind of talk about like, okay, and you're going to get here at this time and do this thing at this time, and when you two arrive at this time, your guests will already be in this section, and then we'll come through to this section. And is the photo booth already set up? Is the DJ already set up? We need to sort out timings and stuff. So I've been sending out emails frantically today and sorting all that stuff out, and then also thinking like, could I just buy lasers on Amazon and just not tell Emma? And just come in and tell the DJ like, can you cue me up with this music, please? And the lights go down, the lasers come out and start firing around. And as long as I come in first, she doesn't know it. Doesn't need to know it ever happened, so it's fine.
No. She can hear the raucous sound and think that's not an entrance my husband deserves.
Do you have any like cousins in their pre-teens that you could just equip with laser pens?
No, I do not.
Groomsmen who are irresponsible and stupid and would happily aggravate.
Yes, I do. I have plenty of friends who I could buy laser pens for, including you two. And you'll just be like,
blind some people. That'd be great.
But if you had to pick a wrestling entrance to walk out to, not necessarily for your wedding, but like say we do a Sequelisers live show and I intro you guys like, and joining me from London, either one of you, it's Matt Stockton. And then what is the music that kicks in as
Kane.
Matt the Hammer Stockton?
Kane, yeah. Finger 11 probably coming in.
Nice. Yeah,
and people would say like, "Oh, that's a lot of pyro. That's really dangerous." I would posit that Triple H is
do the whole like
the water spraying out your face. That's more dangerous than the COVID age. Fire is fine. Leave it with fire.
See, no, that was my plan for my wedding. Was the Triple H motorhead? Hence the green lasers and stuff because his is all green. And I would just do the like. I'm not gonna do it now, obviously, but. And spray out the water and stuff, and it would be amazing.
With a little water bottle. It's not like he's hiding it. He has a water bottle and just puts it on his head, goes rah, 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 screams and things. Stands for a long time staring, then takes the water, does this, and just spews it everywhere. That's disgusting.
Okay, before we transition to yours, Tim, I'll give you a chance to think about it. Dr. Gain, I have walked into lectures with Brock Lesnar's music.
Interesting.
That is, of all the people to walk into, that is a bold choice, Vincent. That is a bold choice.
Especially because Brock, presumably his, lectures are quite intellectual affairs, and I'm pretty sure Brock Lesnar can't read.
Yeah, but you can lift a tree. So fuck it.
Yeah, he's as wide as he is tall, Tim. He doesn't need to read.
I can see Tim really catching people off guard with a glass smashing. Oh my god, it's Stone Cold!
Stone Cold Tim Mater.
Sliding into the ring and like cracking beers over his face and just smashing everyone off. And like, wow, Tim is going for it.
All the middle fingers.
So, Brett, my friend who I used to live with, who you both know,
Brett the Hitman Hart.
Yes, that's him. You used to have used to get the WWE games fairly regularly, kind of every other year. And whenever we would then make ourselves and all of our friends, etc., in them, my intro music used to be "Wolf Like Me" by TV on the Radio.
Oh, nice!
Which has a very good kind of atmospheric intro.
You either need as you said, Matt, a glass breaking straight into it, big like oh my god, he's here moment, or the big theatrical atmospheric stuff. And anything either side of that, you're just not getting the full potential of a wrestling.
What about Shinsuke's violin? That's kind of both, isn't it? It cuts in right, but it's also atmospheric.
No, it starts off with a dum 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 dum, and then
okay,
and then he comes out. So it has that intro. You got to either have a build up or you're straight into the good bit. You got to have a Steve Austin or you got to have a Finn Balor or a Shinsuke or a Wolf Like Me, where you build up to that moment and have that kind of the Undertaker theme where he takes like fucking 15 minutes to walk down to the. Often his entrances were longer than his matches when he was
got to pad out that runtime
in his career. Yeah. Like, we saw the Undertaker for like 40 minutes, like 25 minutes, and that was him walking to the ring because he's fucked both of his hips and he's in his 50s. Yep. Yeah.
Speaking of it, in his 50s, probably. Why is my
What a
focus gone all
segue!
weird?
What a
Yo.
segue, Matthew.
That's better. That's much better. Yes. Shall we talk about Quentin Tarantino?
We should do something. I wasn't expecting that to get tipped so much. Wow.
Tim is broken.
Oh my
Should have said
god! I was
Quarantino.
just
Yeah, I was going to
wasn't
say
expecting
that's his
it.
lockdown name, right? Quarantino. He got COVID and he was put into tent in quarantine.
He was put in a tent in quarantine.
A tent in quarantino.
Yeah.
Loves it. He's a weird fucker. No, here's the thing. Quentin Tarantino, we'll take out the individual personality sort of stuff and just talk about the work for a second. We are of the specific age whereby we would have come to our sort of early film viewing as teenagers or whatever, and Quentin Tarantino's name was a powerhouse of cinema, like independent master. He used to work in a fucking blockbuster style, excuse me, video rental kind of shop. Loved movies, loved all kinds of movies, all genre stuff. Had this really niche, strange collection of films people never heard of or seen. Loved music, refused to do scores because he loved songs so much and soundtracks, and so they played a pivotal role. And was known for the violence and, you know, the swearing and very in your face. And then these huge, huge names of cinema working with him because of his storytelling, yada, yada, yada. And then we got into our 20s, respectively, and he became this sort of like slight dithering, and then he pivoted. And by that dithering, I mean Death Proof. We'll come back to Death Proof. And he did TV bits and pieces, and then he finally went into his most recent wave, which is alternate history pieces, and they're all sort of period dramas, as it were, with other bits happening. But it's very odd because his career, it bounces like a fucking pinball. It's still like ding, 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 hitting all the marks with critics and with award ceremonies and with the box office. It still performs on all three levels, which, as far as the studio is concerned, fantastic. But the they don't change cinema as much as they used to. There used to be a thing where he would release a new film, like the Cameron thing, the James Cameron. Oh my god, how is this going to change how people perceive cinema? And I don't know if that's true ever, really. But in the 90s, it was a strong presence.
But he was really pushing the envelope, like you said, with like violence and stuff, and combining the kind of nonchalant everyday dialogue with incredible scenes of violence, and having the characters being like, oh, they're just going to talk about Madonna for a bit, and then a bunch of people get murdered, but it's all off screen, and then suddenly it's very violent in Pulp Fiction, dealing with like these really fucking heavy subjects and really strong language. We mentioned earlier, like plenty of characters use the N-word. Both black and white characters use the N-word in his films, including himself in Pulp Fiction, which is questionable. But yeah, he was pushing the boundary in a lot of ways, and kind of, I think a lot of people felt he was quite challenging as a director at that time, and really kind of like saying, fuck you, I'm going to make this film my way, whether you like it or not, kind of thing. The non-linear storytelling of Pulp Fiction, or like the kind of revenge story of Django, even later on, like they're very like non-traditional ways of doing it. And then he kind of got into that revenge thing, right? Because obviously through to Kill Bill, just mentioned Django, getting into that kind of defined his career for that middle portion, I feel like. And you're totally right now sorry, Matt, since then it's kind of been weird kind of period pieces. It feels weird to call them period pieces, but they totally are. Even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a period piece, but
yeah,
it's a weird thing to say.
His most recent film that's set in the contemporary age, it was, you know, filmed and released in the same year, as it were. Film release, set and filmed in a similar period, is Death Proof,
which also feels like a throwback as well.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Stuff. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think it's fascinating to kind of think of him in terms of that wave of what I think of the kind of Sundance kids coming up in the 90s. You know, Robert Rodriguez, Kevin Smith, who we've, sort of tackled before on the live streams, especially when he started out, less so as time went on.
And then people like just doing Mandalorian episodes now, which is weird, and Boba Fett episodes.
Yes. And then people like Soderbergh, Alexander Payne, people like that. And I think it's really interesting looking at Quentin Tarantino's career in the context of those people, because it feels like some of those have gone on to become very just like respected, established filmmakers. Some have kind of like Rodriguez, who was always more of a genre person, has kind of leaned into that. And Tarantino, in his own way, is very much a genre filmmaker. He's just, when we say genre, typically people are using that as code for fantasy, sci-fi, or horror. And whereas the genres that he likes are slightly more kind of esoteric, sort of, things like samurai films, exploitation films, and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And I don't know if he's matured as a filmmaker. I think he's just kind of crystallized as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
It's a very valid way of putting it. Yeah, definitely. There's also a central figure at all of those. Well, not all, a lot of those are linked, and Sundance was a big part of it. And it's not a good thing. Because one of the central figures...
Oh, no.
They're pushing her out because it was about the studio is Miramax, which then became the Weinstein Company, and of course, very close ties to Harvey Weinstein. For those who don't know, good. Harvey Weinstein was a producer. Well, yes, was a producer and also sex pest and criminal, and was subsequently charged, thankfully, and so on and so forth. But he's notorious within the industry. Like, people would know he was committing these awful, dubious things, and being a piece of shit. And it's the question of how did you not know Tarantino? But he's come out unscathed. People don't like say like, how do you know? Because it's a working relationship. It's hard to say like what you do.
I mean, he's also, not to get into it too much. He's also had some allegations thrown at him himself.
This is true.
Very much so, yeah.
His treatment of Uma Thurman, especially on the set of Kill Bill and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some very dubious reports and stuff like that, and so again, we don't know how much he knew about Harvey Weinstein and all that kind of stuff. That information will come out in time or won't. But it does. It definitely colours. When you kind of can't help, because they were so closely linked, because they were so of that moment, especially at the beginning of his career. It's very hard to untangle him from that association.
Yeah. And since his most recent film was 2019, just before the pandemic, and it was a Sony release, I want to say, rather than because the Weinstein Company kind of has this deal with Universal and Sony other bits and pieces. Miramax is now back in form because obviously the name Weinstein is horribly toxic, etc. So that's through Sony as a distribution. But the point is,
was Sony, yes.
Yeah, it still made a big old load of money, and critics loved it, and it won some Oscars. So. He's not going anywhere.
Spoiler alert, I thought it was mediocre. But...
I don't like it. I give it 2 out of 5. I think there are some great bits in it, but it's not a good film per se. But that's
agreed.
We're going to get to that shit.
We'll dig into that later on for sure.
But it's more the fact that he has... this is the thing people say that I never believe. You'll notice this throughout certain industries, like footballers have a shelf life of, say... I mean, whether it's American football, or football. I refuse to call it soccer. Like the mid-30s is like, my body can't do this anymore. I'm really fucking struggling. I can't keep up with this. We've got like teenagers and early 20-somethings who can run circles around me. I can't do this, whatever. And there's a distinct retirement. If you're in certain other fields of employment, there's a retirement. Nobody tends to retire from directing. You just disappear until you come back to it. Or you die, just because. I mean, I can't remember exactly how old Clint Eastwood is, and he's still making movies because no one's stopping him. Basically,
1,000,000 years old. That's how old Clint Eastwood is.
He looked 90 when he was
1 million.
6, so.
Yeah, exactly.
He looks like one of those Easter Island heads, but with that's been like rolled in hair.
Yeah, it's like, and it's cracked on the way down as it's formed. Yeah, but basically,
Clint Eastwood is 91, by the way.
There we go. That's good innings, to be fair. But the thing I was getting at is that he's done 9/10 movies. He sees it as 9 because Kill Bill being Volume 1 and Volume 2 being one story. Fair enough. I respect that. No problem with that.
Not how we're doing it on the bracket, but that's
not here today. No. But he said his 10th film would be his last film, and I think it said the chat someone was like 59 this year. I don't believe him. For a fucking second.
I'm pretty sure he's retired at least 2 other times already.
Probably, yeah.
And he also was trying to make a Star Trek movie like recently that was not
I
being made.
have no desire to see a Quentin Tarantino.
And that would be his 11th film. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
already at 10, motherfucker. Like
Yeah.
The way
I
he's it'll be a big thing, but
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, he does occupy a somewhat unique position in pop culture at the moment still, as a fairly independent director who can make films about whatever he likes that you can visually identify usually as his.
Sure.
Or certainly they are marketed in a way. His filmmaking has a certain rhythm to it. I tend to think it's almost more in the editing, a lot of Tarantino stuff.
very much so. It's the multiple
similar to how we talked about Edgar Wright, right? As well.
Yeah, actually, Edgar Wright's
You can tell an Edgar
Yeah.
Wright film. You can notice a Tarantino style of filmmaking.
very hard to imitate as well.
Yeah, and like you say, Matt, he still makes a buttload of money. Like for films that, you know, what we would consider these kind of mid-budget adult films, you know, that are almost always, you know, 18. I don't think he's made a film that isn't an 18/an R rating. You know,
Maybe a 15 with a push in this country.
Yeah.
But mostly, like Jackie Brown, I think was only
Yeah.
15. Either way, in America they're all rated R, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And-
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, quickly to jump on that box office side of things. I'm not going to get into Rotten Tomatoes or anything yet. We'll get onto that when we get into the films individually. But around a $90 million budget for Once Upon a Time, and made $375 million at the box office. So
Yeah.
made a good 150, 200 million on top there, including marketing budget and stuff. Because as we always say, basically double that production budget to include marketing. So chuck an extra 70 or 80 million on top of that. You're still making a cool 200 mil on top of that as well. So yeah,
But the
it's,
marketing
and it's a
is not
film.
like, sorry, so the marketing on it is really, let's face it, it's the new Tarantino film.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Marketing.
Exactly, yeah. I don't know anybody who went to that and was like, fair enough. Few people will be like, oh, it's DiCaprio, oh, it's Brad Pitt, you know, Margot Robbie, and a few other people in there. But like, really, it's the new Tarantino. Like that's what people go to see his films for.
And he very quickly became in that quite rarefied status of a director whose name can sell a film. You know, there are, and who has basically remained that the entire time. I think even during the days of Grindhouse Death Proof, you know, that kind of stuff, and people were still excited to see a Tarantino film. You know, in a way that, for example, like, you know, Scorsese had a period in the sort of the 90s and the 2000s where he would have a film come out and people would just be like, it's fine, you know. I think now he's swung back so that people go, hey, there's a new Scorsese, like,
It's
pay
4
attention.
hours. You're like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But every film that Tarantino has that comes out is pretty much an event. Some more so than others, but you know, he still has quite a pull on pop culture 30 years after he got started. So, you know.
Yeah. It's a powerful career, put it that way.
The fact that we're talking about Tarantino and Star Trek, I must highlight this comment from Tyler because it is spectacular and horrifying in equal measure. Would Spock's toes via Tarantino do the live long and prosper gesture?
Jesus wept.
Among the many reasons that I don't want a Tarantino Star Trek.
It's going to be
How much of a horror's toes do you want to see? Oh,
There'll be a
God.
specific like alien toxin that eats shoes and socks, and then the Enterprise will be like smacked through some sort of warp thing, and they're like, go on a side, everyone will fly off the over the console.
Oh, no.
And, oh no, I'm in the feet.
That's the minimum it would be. Like I think it would be, there would at least be like, it would be like throwback to the 60s costumes, so lots of girls in miniskirts, and they all sit in the chairs and they've got like their feet up on the Star Trek consoles.
Accidentally going to warp. Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine all the footprints on those really shiny consoles.
Yeah, like the Next Generation style.
There's
There's just a red shirt going around with some Windex and just wiping them all down.
and some foot cream.
It's Tarantino's cameo, and he's licking them all up. And then a lens flare comes out of his mouth. Fucking hell. Anyway, shall we look at the bracket?
Jesus Christ. We probably should, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
I will unleash the
will.
bracket upon
It's going to take a while
us
to
here.
talk about this, I think.
Ba-bam. So, designed, as always, by the wonderful John Scarrett, and weighted according to IMDb score. That's right, isn't it? So we'll get into Rotten Tomatoes and stuff, as we always do. We'll get into box office for individual films and what we think about the films. But the way it's weighted, you can see a few of them got a buy in there. So yeah, kind of weighted by reviews on IMDb. So
Shall I whip us
Matt,
through?
do you want to zoom in and
Mm.
walk us through?
All right, real quick. Pew! Pulp Fiction off on its own, because of course. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood versus Jackie Brown. That one might upset a few people.
Interesting.
Because those are two films that are arguably very plot heavy and feel like a little less exploitation than one would expect. So we'll see how, because they'll be fan favorites for certain people. Reservoir Dogs versus Kill Bill 1. Very interesting. I think I'm going to say this for everything. It's going to come up, unfortunately.
Very interesting.
Django Unchained on its own there.
Yep.
Hateful Eight versus Death Proof. Two of the weakest ones. That's be interesting as well. And finally, Inglourious Bastards versus Kill Bill Volume 2. So
I think
so we
they're
have
all quite tough, weirdly enough.
I actually
Yeah.
agree. I was going through thinking, yeah, there's that. This is one where I've actually had real problems wargaming it. So to those who don't know, we give John the list and the seed bracket structure, etc. He goes off and makes these really beautiful images, and with the ability to whip through these little triangles and go through these, it's fantastic. He does such great work with it. And then we go, great. Now we've seen it. I'm going to have a little play. And we do it because at the end of the day, we have to make sure all the things are there. All the, it's just stress testing it, which is all good.
I never do it.
Matt and I play around.
Yeah, I play with it. Yeah.
You two play around with it.
Yes.
It's not right in front of me, so I forget that it exists.
That's fine. That means that Tim's reaction is always like, "Oh shit!" But it's once you make, again, it's only because we have a vote each. Obviously, the way we do this, so it always comes down to multiple opinions rather than just if I was doing this on my own, or if you indeed yourself, viewer / I was going to say listener, but with viewers here, if you did this yourself, you might come with an entirely different outcome.
Yeah,
But
we've already got some guesses for the final and for the winners, so please do get them in.
Don't know.
I can save the chats, so get your predictions in now, and I will save them in a little folder, and we will highlight them at the end and see how you guys go. We've already got 3 or 4 predictions in for a finale, a finale, and a winner. I tried to combine those 2 words. So yeah, if you do have any early predictions for winners, now that you've seen the bracket, do get them in the live chat, and I will highlight them later on as we go through.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really hard. I think this is going to come down to a lot of personal bias. And I know we always, obviously this does anyway, but that's what we like to say at the top of the bracket. What's your favorite, or what do you think is going to win? Because I tend to try and go on what's the better movie rather than what I like more, arguably, although there tend to be this, an aligned thing. But this is a really, really tough one. So let's tackle that question because I'm very curious. What is your favorite Tarantino film? Well, no, what's the best Tarantino film? Your favorite Tarantino film, gentlemen, respectively.
You just change that question very quickly.
I know.
What's the best?
I'm very
to what's your
tired.
favorite?
Sorry, let's try again. What's your favorite Tarantino film, please?
I think it's probably Inglourious Bastards, but I'm not certain. I hold a lot of his films on roughly the same level. So I think this will be very interesting for me because I think there's going to be some decisions where I'm like, oh, I haven't thought of which of these 2 I prefer. Let me do it in real time kind of thing.
The Hattori Hanzo sword situation, quite literally. Okay. Jack, what about you?
My answer would probably be word for word the same thing. This weird thing where I feel like I grew up like, and there was a comment earlier from Remy saying about how, let me grab it here. It was every 15-year-old falls in love with Tarantino. Like, oh yeah, I'm into films. I'm gonna totally be cool and get into like non-mainstream cool stuff like Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs because I'm edgy and cool and I'm a teenager. And like Pulp Fiction was my favorite film as like a 15-year-old or whatever it was. But yeah, I think I've grown. The more I think about it, the more I like Inglourious Bastards. So that's my kind of dark horse pick, I think.
Interesting.
Matthew, how about you?
Well, I'm again, I've because of my age and nationality and ethnicity and gender, same thing. 15-year-old going, fucking love Quentin Tarantino. It's like he's a film fan who became a guy who not only worked with the best talent he wanted to work with, he was resurrecting careers and saying, have you heard of this person? Have you heard of that person? It's like, yeah, John Travolta was considered all but washed up until Pulp Fiction came out. He didn't discover Samuel Jackson in any way, shape, or form, but people credit him as putting him in the spotlight. So there's all this kind of stuff. And for me personally,
I know Emma found a TikTok a little while ago that was like, how do you create a Tarantino film? And it's like, pick a vaguely descriptive part of history, Prohibition era. Like, who's an actor who hasn't done any work in like 10 to 15 years? Josh Hartnett. Like, brilliant, you've got it. And make sure you chuck in a few N-words in there, just in case.
Yeah, that sounds painfully accurate.
He really got into that habit of kind of, like you said, resurrecting careers and picking like, he's still doing stuff. Oh, he's in the new Tarantino movie. Okay, I'll see what he's like. Interesting.
Yeah,
it's weird kind of a habit that he got into. I don't know if he does it consciously or if it's just him being like,
well,
I really like this person's work and I want to work with them.
I think it's
regardless of what they've done recently.
Yeah, it's that paired with because that also doesn't always work because he's working with Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. Like they're not on the way out, but he is. It's I want to work with this person because I respect what they've done and what they do, and that very much is because his first film with Reservoir Dogs was championed through and through entirely and held aloft by Harvey Keitel. I think he's always known that reciprocal relationship of like send and lift back down. Someone is helping you, you have to help the other person. It's like I love this person, I love that actor. Franco Nero is amazing. I'm going to bring him in my movie. It's like, why? I don't need a reason why. I want to give that motherfucker some money because I enjoyed his stuff. I get it.
The thing that he has sustained throughout his whole career is the feeling that he is doing almost every creative decision that he makes on his films is made because, I just want to do this thing because I love it.
Yes.
Yes.
It doesn't feel like he's ever making any like calculated commercial moves or like political moves kind of thing.
Oh no,
in terms of like gather, in terms of like establishing himself as, keeping himself kind of fresh in the public's mind or whatever. He's just working with the people that he wants to work with. Or that he wants to fuck. But well,
I was gonna say the first one I respect, the other one less so.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say just to accept the problem was as I got older into my early 20s, which for context is the Kill Bill era, and I was like, I realize what you're doing now. There's me thinking, oh my god, Reservoir Dogs is amazing. It's like, it's kind of a remake, right? It's like, what? And it's like, yeah. Have you seen this obscure French movie? Have you seen this random old 50s movie? Have you seen this Japanese movie? And you're like, oh yeah. And so he's the kind of not cover artist, but he's the best person at sampling other people's music and making it his own and then going, I have made a new song. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. That's how music is fucking made.
The Daft Punk of filmmakers.
He's a
fucking everything
guy.
as a sample.
Yeah. He's the Avalanches or someone like that,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
So when you see, for argument's sake, his newest film, and I'm like, I'm seeing that you're actually bringing less to the table. You're not pushing things forward as much as I thought you might have been because I can see where you got all these inspirations from. So while it's cool and I get it, I'm also like, I've seen behind the curtain now. So that was, but having said all that, that being said, I think it's going to be a really interesting clean sweep. Now I've spoken to you guys because Inglourious Bastards is my favorite as well. I think that's going to be
Before we get into stuff, I do have. I assume he didn't make it, but Tyler has shared something with me through the Discord that relates to Tarantino's Star Trek. You're not ready for this.
Is it a cast? For fuck's sake! Hard pass. Wipe.
Thanks,
Whatever way
Tyler.
bad.
Fuck me.
That is.
That's ignoring the low resolution. There, that is a horrifying image.
Why
I
is
hate
it still
so
on
much
screen?
about that.
I assume Tyler didn't just make that in the last
I
2
really
minutes.
hope that's not
Very
your
good.
work, Tyler.
I'd be impressed because it's like, to do that quickly.
Yeah.
Is good. Also,
Yeah.
fuck you. Right, let's get into it because I think we're gonna.
I'm just going to distract us halfway through and just keep flashing that up like.
Phil.
So if we make a decision that you disagree with, that's just your punishment for us. It's like your no can.
And now
can we ban Tyler? He's apologized.
I don't know if that's
And then
enough.
Vince, Dr. Vince is of course vomiting everywhere.
Yep.
Understandable. Right, let's start at the top left. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, 2019. Jackie Brown, 1997. So one of the oldest and the most recent Tarantino movies. Both star-studded casts. Extremely impressive either way. One is an adaptation. I think one of the only adaptations that Tarantino's ever done. We didn't come into why we're not including True Romance and a bit of Sin City, and that should be obvious why. So
yeah.
Piss off.
Forums and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think we should have included his episode of CSI, but that's just me.
That is just
that one episode of CSI.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Jack, do you want to hit us with the numbers?
I certainly will. I'll start. Not from
20
the top.
feet.
Yes. It's the number of feet. I'm sure there's a stat for that somewhere. How many foot shots are in each of Tarantino's? We're going to try and dial down the feet as much as we can. But yeah, unless of course I do keep doing that.
Jesus Christ, Jack!
I was just about to take a drink.
Now I have to take a different kind of drink, unscrewing a fucking cap.
Yeah.
Spirits.
Let me just get the bleach down here.
I thought you were wringing out a sock.
Oh.
I knew that would get mad. Anyway, I'm starting in 1997.
I didn't go with foot sweat. I went with jizz. Right, let's carry on.
What's worse? Let us know in the comments below. Starting in 1997 with Jackie Brown, we're talking about 2 hours and 35 minutes with the tomatometer score from the critics from 86 reviews of 87% and the audience score of 85%. So pretty agreed on the audience and the tomatometer from the critics there as well. So yeah. Similarly, interestingly enough, 2019's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, 2 hours and 39 minutes, so 4 minutes longer, and 85% on the tomatometer from many more reviews, 576, and a considerably lower 70% from the audience. So Jackie Brown on the tomatometer is 87, Once Upon a Time it's 85, according to the critics. They are 4 minutes difference in run length and 22 years apart in release. Very interesting.
Yeah. So, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I gave a 2 out of 5 because I liked vignetted elements of it. I thought it was really cool in parts, but overall, I didn't think it worked as a whole. I think there's some beautifully strong scenes, but it's Hollywood about Hollywood, and I don't give a shit. Even though I love the industry, films about the industry are very hit and miss for me. Because it's so.
We've talked about it before, how kind of Oscar baity and wanky they get because Hollywood loves to talk about itself.
Yeah. And I get the, with Inglourious Bastards and Django Unchained. Actually, no, really, it's just Inglourious Bastards and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Django Unchained is very broad in what it's doing. It's not one specific example of a specific historic case. It's just obviously a lot of slavery, which is fucking awful. But Inglourious Bastards and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood really deviate from the real history. Everything kind of progresses like, yeah, that's a thing, that's a film, it's a film. And then it goes, fuck you, it's weird. And it's like, oh. But then also I kind of love that because like, this is fiction, you know that, right? And you're like, fair. I can't argue with that. But that being said, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, some wonderful scenes, but overall a bit fucking meandering. Jackie Brown is a really clean, well-executed movie, which is frustrating because it's not because of his script, it's because of the fact it's a book and it's structured accordingly.
Yeah.
Really beautifully shot, well directed, beautifully acted, but because it doesn't have a lot of the Tarantino touch, shall we say, a lot of his signature moves, feels a little flat. And as such, a lot of people. I remember I was only like 13 at the time, maybe when it came out, but I remember the backlash. I remember people saying, "Oh, it's this guy, this Tarantino, who's ripped everything up with Pulp Fiction. His name comes Jackie Brown. Look at all those amazing people in it." And I remember this sort of soft, limp response from everyone going, "It's all right. It's a crime drama.
It's no
okay."
Pulp Fiction was basically like the whole
No Pulp
response to
Fiction,
it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the same year as Titanic and things like L.A. Confidential, for example. It's like that's a story I want to see.
What a film! What a film!
Yeah. So and then he sort of didn't do anything for 6 years until Kill Bill came out. So I think it really knocked the winds out of his sails. In terms of preference, in terms of what I think of them, I think both are accomplished films in their own right, but I think that both have really, really weak elements that hinder them. That is my summation. Good night. What about you two? Hang on, we didn't do the thing. We didn't do the fucking thing. Have you guys seen all of these movies?
Yes, I have.
Right, I figured as much. Just want to make sure we're out of the way. So yes. Have you?
I saw one from time earlier this year. I think it was pretty recent.
I saw it earlier this week.
There you go.
Have you seen Jackie Brown in the last decade?
Yeah,
As in rewatched
I
it?
have. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe. Decade's a long time, Matthew. So maybe. I probably saw it for the first time in the last decade. To be fair.
Fair play.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, thoughts, boys?
Jack, you go ahead.
I don't like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood very much. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was fine. I think the cast does a lot of the heavy lifting. I can't speak today. Good opportunity to do a live stream. I think the cast do a lot of the heavy lifting, and I think the script is nothing particularly interesting. And I couldn't give less of a fuck about this era of Hollywood. This is so far away from my interests, and maybe, like I said, the filmmakery types who love the Oscar-y types who love this kind of stuff are like, oh, we're going back to an era of Hollywood where it was all different and blah 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 blah. It's like, I don't care. This doesn't interest me particularly. There's of course the hints towards like the Manson side of stuff and that whole thing that never really, I feel like Niv's never properly explored, and kind of like that, and maybe not to the film's discredit, but a lot of the marketing was kind of focused on that and saying like, oh my god, Tarantino, the most violent filmmaker, he's gonna be doing Charlie Manson, it's gonna be fucking mental. And you're like, okay, well he didn't really. I mean, it's far less. I'm fine with it not being about that, but the fact that I kind of went in with that expectation, I think, was a misstep for the marketing.
I feel like,
but yeah,
Charles Manson has a much bigger grip on the American psyche than it does for us.
Yeah,
I think he is a much bigger boogeyman for them. Obviously, like, because it comes from there, but I think they underestimate.
He's like our Jack the Ripper, right? We've got our.
I guess, yeah, kind of.
Kind of.
I think they underestimate the extent to which we kind of don't care about him.
It's because for Americans, I mean, this is the thing we keep forgetting about Manson. I'm going to use legal wording. I apologize. I'm not saying I agree with it. He didn't kill anyone. He technically coerced and manipulated other people to kill people, which was for America somehow more terrifying. And he did it because he thought the Beatles told him to. I mean, keep forgetting that he's a massive Beatles fan. You're like,
and also because he was a massive white supremacist who to start a race.
Huge piece of shit. But the thing is, well, not that I'm encouraging anyone to do this, but the Sharon Tate, the Tate murder stuff is fucking awful. The fact it's also in Roman Polanski's house adds an extra level of like, Polanski as well. It's really weird and uncomfortable in multiple aspects. But the fact that that they did this whole thing hang on 1 second. I realize it's getting dark outside. So basically,
Might do the same.
you got Margot Robbie playing Sharon Tate. And for those who don't know the history, Sharon Tate was murdered rather brutally with her friends by part of Charlie Manson's cult. But the thing is that nothing about that experience was enjoyably fun or something. There's something you can't have a lot of, like, a cool experience. Like, oh, let's do something cool. It's like it was a pregnant woman and their friends getting like stabbed to death. It's like that's and choked and like hung at one point. It's like it's not like a cool Tarantino twist on it. That's going to sound awful. It's like no, we give Sharon Tate this whole like last day, see what she was doing, and like.
So yeah, I went into it with and not to get onto Inglourious Bastards, but because that deviates from history so much, and you touched on it earlier, Matt, I thought like, oh, they're going to do something different, and Tarantino's going to like, go off and do a different alternate history timeline-y thing or whatever, and like it's going to be some, they killed Charles Manson. It's very violent, and they shoot him in a theater and melt his face with a flamethrower or whatever, like something Tarantino twisty. And I was just like, oh, okay, this just feels a bit by the numbers.
Again,
and a bit
there's two main stories. There's Leonardo DiCaprio as this washed-up actor who gets a bit of a resurgence because of spaghetti westerns and a one TV performance that gives him a bit of a chance. That's a film, right there. That's a film. But he also wants to do this other film, and so and that doesn't work. They don't really bleed. They almost incidentally bleed at the end, and it's like, oh, and it's very unrewarding for that reason. Very unfulfilling. Jackie Brown, on the other hand, tells a complete story and does it well.
Yep.
But
pretty straightforward. Yeah.
The story that's the thing. The story also itself is quite straightforward. So it's like, if you are looking for some like exciting, entertaining, sort of certain novelties to how Tarantino does his stuff, you're not going to find it in Jackie Brown. It's very by the numbers, which is fine. It's fine. So this is a very flat one for me, I think. But I'm happy to vote.
Should we go to the vote? I feel like we don't, unless people have more to say about it.
What about the public? Have they kicked off? The viewers.
I will go to the live chat. Michael Lane saying Manson's really a California thing, and then kind of expands upon that with
there we go.
Nationwide famous creeps in the UF. You go to Dharma or the Green River Killer. There's like Zodiac Killer and a few other people that have again highlighted in films and stuff that have kind of ascended into pop culture, but mostly kind of a South LA, outside California, that kind of stuff for Manson. So that makes sense. Pretty clear picks for Jackie Brown across the board. Dr. Gain picking Jackie Brown. Again, Michael Lane, JB by miles. Remy coming in there as well. I'm going to go with Jackie Brown because the voiceover cameo he did in Hollywood was him yelling, "and cut" at the end. And wankery like that needs to be punished. I agree, Remy. And also, it doesn't matter since Pulp Fiction's next. I also agree with that, Remy. Who knew Remy and I were going to agree on this stream? So it's a rare time when Remy
ends now.
Before I break his heart by kicking out his favorite film. As I do, I think every time Remy has joined us in the live chat, he has supported one choice with all of his heart, and I've gone, I'm going to pick the other one, and I've been the decider and absolutely crushed it. Dr. Gain again, JB all the way, driven by. So I concur with the live chat. I'm going to vote for Jackie Brown as well. Tim, how about you?
Yeah, I think Jackie Brown has one of Tarantino's best openings, if not the best. I think
across 110th Street.
Yeah. I think Pam Grier is great. I think Michael Keaton is great in it. I love that there's this weird little shared universe between Jackie Brown and Out of Sight, the Elmore Leonard multiverse. Yeah. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has that bullshit with Bruce Lee.
Oh God, yeah, of course it does.
That's
great actor,
nonsense.
Used like shit.
Yes, yeah.
How do I show that my stuntman is amazing? I'll have him beat the shit out of Bruce Lee. It's like, excuse me.
So I vote Jackie Brown.
Yeah, obviously I agree. Good. And look at me, Tim. Look, I'm going the right way this time.
Yeah. I'm going to
Yeah.
go right on.
I only took like a year doing this. Right. Death Proof and Hateful Eight. Some more 2 out of 5 films.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
we're getting
2015
the crap out of the way first.
2007.
Yes, indeed. Let me get them up on my screen here. Bear with me. Hateful Eight.
So what the big thing I'm going to do?
I like both of these more than most people do.
Oh, really?
Oh, interesting. That'll be very interesting. So Hateful Eight for me is a bottle episode, and Death Proof is half a story told twice. So I don't like them.
Fair.
I agree with those criticisms. Absolutely. I think Hateful Eight is far too long for what it is, and it thinks
100%.
it thinks it's a bit smarter than it actually is. But I think it's got some great performances. I think it could just be like
Undoubtedly, yeah.
a lot, maybe like 45 minutes shorter. And
it's a really bloated Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, essentially.
Kind of, yeah.
And
you're actually getting some support in the live chat here as well, so people enjoying Hateful Eight. Yes, Tim, I like Hateful Eight a fair bit. Actually like Hateful Eight.
Like
it's
what you
a
like,
bit
man.
middling from Kieran.
Yeah.
Tim Roth is fun in Hateful Eight.
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that sentence.
Yeah, I think some great actors in it. Bruce Dern, Kurt Russell, obviously.
Bruce Dern.
Who's the woman? My brain's gone blank. Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Jennifer Jason Leigh, yeah.
My head too. Yeah.
Yeah. Death Proof, I think, it's a lot of build up to a really, really, really good car chase.
Really good imitation of other good car chase is my only problem.
But I think
the craft is there. It's still done well.
Having Zoe Bell out on the hood of the car and knowing that like she really did all that shit.
Oh yeah.
Is like there are a few. I saw Death Proof. I actually saw Death Proof as Grindhouse. I was in the States when it came out, so I got to see both of them together.
Oh, cool.
And watching that in the cinema was one of the most viscerally exciting like chase scenes that I've seen in a long, long while, or action scenes of anything.
See, Tim brings up a very interesting point there, because I saw this both as a Grindhouse, as in the Grindhouse movie with the 2 features and the ads, and I saw it as Death Proof as a release. And the Grindhouse one is notably shorter and missing certain scenes.
Really?
Yes, because essentially to make them both fit under, like to make it like a 3-hour movie, they both had to be basically 85 minutes movies. But then when they released Solo, they were like, well, we can't just release these 85-minute movies. We've got to bump them up to like, I don't know, 100 minutes or something.
I don't fucking know why.
Yeah, so Death Proof, the theatrical cut, the individual cut, whatever the hell you want to call it, is 1 hour 54. So it is quite a lot. That you're chucking out half an hour there pretty much to get it under 90.
And I think you actually, for example, there's a bit in Death Proof where one of the characters gives a lap dance, and if you're watching the Grindhouse version, it gets up right to the point of her about to give the lap dance, and then it goes real missing, and it jumps ahead in the film, and that's hilarious.
That is good. Yeah, that's true.
So and I like, I think there's good dialogue in Death Proof.
Agreed. Yeah, and good performances as well.
Yeah, the second half is so much better than the first half.
Fair.
But yeah, it's a lot of like sitting around waiting for the good bit to happen. But I think it's that chase scene is still very good, and watching the Kurt Russell just get the shit beaten out of him at the end is hilarious.
That's fair. I would say that there's going to be a repeated thing we're going to probably not have to say, but we're going to find ourselves saying every single time. Some really great scenes and some amazing performances. And I'm going to say that for every one of these fucking movies.
Yep.
Yeah. what about the numbers, Jack? What do you
Yeah,
got?
sorry, we skipped right over those.
Let's dive into the numbers, shall we? So again, I'll go in chronological order, starting with Grindhouse Presents Death Proof from 2007. As I mentioned, 1 hour 54 runtime, the lowest of the tomatometer scores in 64%, and an audience score of 72%.
Oh, 64.
So yeah, but
Brutal.
64 is the bottom of the barrel for Mr. Tarantino in terms of tomatometer scores. And then jumping forward to 2015 with the Hateful Eight, we have 74 from 335 reviews on the tomatometer and a 76 from the audience score. So again, audience and critics fairly even there as well, and higher than both the Death Proof scores as well. So yeah, in general, people seem to prefer Hateful Eight, whether that's audiences or the critic score for the tomatometer.
What are your thoughts, Jack?
Hateful Eight's too fucking long. It's way, way, way too fucking long. I was bored, thoroughly bored, and it's like but I think that was the moment when I realized I'm like, oh, I've grown up and Tarantino hasn't. Like this is he's just making, because I enjoyed Planet Terror and Death Proof for what they were at the time and didn't really think about it significantly. And obviously, like, we got Machete out of that and all that kind of stuff as well. But I didn't think of that as like, oh, that's a big misstep for Tarantino, because I didn't think like, it's anything significant. Like I said, I'd fallen in love with Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, and my mum's one of my favorite films is Pulp Fiction, so I'm always like quoting bits and all that kind of stuff. And I really enjoy the Kill Bill films, which we'll get on to in a minute as well. And I remember watching Hateful Eight and being like, have I changed? Has he changed? Like, what's going on here? I am not clicking with this for whatever reason, and I can't quite work out why. And then I was like, oh, there's an hour and 10 minutes left of this movie. Fucking hell. Because, yeah, I thought like, oh, well, it's going to be like 2 hours something, probably. I'm sure I'll be fine. And it's nearly 3 hours with credits and intros and stuff. And I was like, yeah, again, there's good performances. Like Kurt Russell is great. Samuel L. Jackson, I guess. Jennifer Jason Leigh, you mentioned earlier, Tim, fantastic performance. Walton Goggins is good in it as well. Love me some of the Gog.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hateful Eight just never really clicked with me. I'm not going to lie. And Death Proof was like, yeah, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. That's okay. I think you summed it up earlier, Matt. Like, these are two out of 5 movies. Like, this is the like, I don't particularly care what goes through because I'm not sure if it matters kind of thing when we're in these earlier rounds. And I think the later rounds are going to get really tough for Tarantino. But this earlier stuff, I'm like, they're fine. It's very much like the other half of his career that I never really clicked with me. How about you, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I've sort of rambled on about my thoughts on both. So, are we happy to start voting? Yeah,
I think so.
You're kicking off the vote, mate.
I said I like Hateful Eight more than most people, but I'm going to vote Death Proof.
Interesting. Matthew?
I might need a second to think.
Oh.
So okay,
I'll go to the chat while you have a time to think.
Yeah.
Brilliant quote here. People go, am I the one who's out of touch? No, it's the children. Well, Tarantino who are wrong. That's pretty much. I was the principal Skinner in that situation, very much so.
Yeah. It's a bit like
General Pandemonium as well. Sorry, go on, Tim.
It's a bit like growing up and realizing that your parents are people as well. It's like you realize that.
Yes, they don't have all the answers. It turns out. How weird.
Yeah.
Going over to General Pandemonium, I've only seen the Grindhouse version of Death Proof, and I just can't imagine that being any longer than it is, which I guess is the problem. Like, yeah.
Very much so. Okay. So I'll explain my logic in a second. I think that's the best way. That's what we usually do. We just give it the vote and explain afterwards because, yeah. Hateful Eight.
Okay.
Okay.
You want to explain yourself there, Stockton?
Yeah, I feel like my reasoning is because there's more filmmaking involved in the Hateful Eight. The immensely beautiful
It's
lenses.
there's more film, literally more film.
There's more time for it. No, the costume design, the weather stuff, the fact that the fact is one of the first instances where he's lifted a score, not songs, a score by Ennio Morricone, the unused sort of elements of the thing, basically. As he wrote a score for the thing, and obviously John Carpenter did his own bit, and Ennio Morricone came back and did, "No, I like this," but there's all this unused stuff that he's brought in, which is fascinating. Which means it's the first and only real Tarantino film that has a musical accompaniment that isn't a song, which means it actually fits nicely. And of course, it's Morricone, for God's sake. I think the performances are better. The conversations are better in Death Proof, but I think the idea, as mentioned earlier in the chat about Tim Roth being the hangman, I think Remy brought it up, the dispassionate nature of the hangman. And the viewer like, fuck him, put him away in a barrel. It's just really fun. That basically, they're both meh. I think the structure of the Hateful Eight is better, arguably, and the little tidbit vignettes are more engaging to me because he's a more he's writing more on par rather than trying to go with something that's extremely exploitation. So that was my logic.
Fair. Jack, decision comes to you.
I am going for some Death Proof.
Fair.
Sorry, Matthew.
No. Again, I'm
Literally
literally
on that.
Indifferent.
I am as well at that point, but yeah. I think I do prefer Death Proof a bit more. Like I said,
No shame.
I think I was just so put off by Hateful Eight's runtime. It just never really clicked with me. Whereas there are bits in Death Proof that really stuck out to me and really kind of like, oh yeah, I'm into this bit. Whereas Hateful Eight never really got there for me. Like it just kind of bubbled along for 3 hours. Whereas Death Proof is a bit more of a kind of roller coaster of quality.
Fair. No, I can.
Higher highs and lower lows.
So we'll talk about Jackie Brown. Pulp Fiction. Yeah, really big thing. Pulp Fiction. I can't. I know it's a big
Pulp
thing.
Fiction.
It's a big
It's a big thing.
Put that on the fucking poster. I'm sorry, I've been tired. But yeah, no, it was a hugely
Big thing.
big thing. No, it was
a
very
cultural
influential.
moment.
Yes, it was an influential moment.
There we go. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah. And it was the fact that it again didn't spawn imitators in the way one would expect. It was like, oh, that's great, let's all try it. I think there were elements of that, but the thing is, the timeline being chopped up and all over the place, the infinite number of fonts, the fact that it was music over soundtrack, but the thing that people couldn't get was like, it's got some of amazing collection of stars, these amazing actors, but it was also like just some of the biggest names. You're like, holy shit. Not like at the time, like, that's not unheard of. You could think like the Towering Inferno has like the biggest number of people in it, but it's quite impressive. And so many people in there are named actors people know to this day. Admittedly, some of them are like, oh, that guy, fucking great, who gives a shit. But at the time, it was a almost controversial point to say, well, how did you manage this? It's like, because it's an ensemble piece, I only need them for 2 days. That's how I managed it. And it all interlinks and interweaves into, and that's, I think maybe that is the thing that Pulp Fiction's legacy on the late 90s and early 2000s, stories that interwove and fed into each other that sort of ended up in the same place at the end. That might be the legacy, as it were. And obviously swearing and violence. And yeah, quotes might be the thing. But Pulp Fiction still holds up. Still really good. Still really has the same punch. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think, Pulp Fiction was such a sensation when it came out. I remember it, even though I was too young to see it at the time. I remember it being such a, obviously Reservoir Dogs had already happened, but this was essentially him sort of striking lightning. It was lightning striking twice in the same place. It was showing that he wasn't just a flash in the, he wasn't going to be this director who came out with one great film and then vanished. And I think there's some great performances in it. I think it's incredible how pretty much every scene is like one of those scenes that just really burns itself into your memory.
That's
Like,
fair.
Yeah.
there's very few scenes in it where you can't think of like iconic images and moments from it. There's very
And
little.
dialogue as well.
Yeah, there's very little that's just like waffle. Which, when you consider stuff like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and the Hateful Eight, they always just kind of like merge into themselves. Whereas
That's
Pulp
fair.
Fiction,
That's fair.
every scene feels distinct and feels, unique, and you can understand its place in the narrative and stuff like that.
Yeah. Even shit like Bruce Willis in the back of the cab. Booch. What does that mean? This is America, honey. Names don't mean shit. I'm like, oh, that's just little
Yeah.
bits that you go, that still hits nicely. That's such a great. It has some power behind it, even though it's probably an imitation of something else.
And I think, as much as Tarantino is like a kind of a maximalist director, throw everything at the wall, I think it does, and the fact that he's so known for his dialogue, I think there are moments in this where he does some visual storytelling. He shows that he is an accomplished visual director as well. There's stuff like, I think we talked about this the other day for some reason, Butch picking the weapon in the in the pawn
We
shop.
talked about it in the samurai episode.
Yes,
That's what it was. Yes.
and the moment of going like, okay, hammer. Ooh, baseball bat. Ooh, chainsaw. Samurai sword. And that's all done silently. And similarly, the scene where he's sneaking back into the house and then shoots John Travolta, like, that's about a 5-minute scene where there's no dialogue. There's quite a few one-ers in that shot as well. Like, the whole shot of him sneaking back to the house, I'm pretty sure is done as a one-er. And he's very good at, like, building tension and stuff. And probably not, if you ask people to pick out, like, the things that Tarantino is good at, that kind of stuff wouldn't necessarily be the thing that you would go for. So I think, like we say, Pulp Fiction holds up. I really like Jackie Brown. I think it's an underrated film. I think the fact that it's an adaptation at the time, people were less keen on it because they were like, "Oh, but we want to hear the stories that he's telling." I think now, people, it's like, I think it would be interesting to see him do an adaptation now. Like, obviously, you've got to find that match in terms of tone of source material, and Elmore Leonard is spot on for that. So yeah, I think it's one of his more mature films, and I do really like Jackie Brown, but also, like, Pulp Fiction's fucking. There's a reason that it was such a mega hit. Jack, say some things.
Pulp Fiction was the introduction for me to Tarantino, as I'm sure it is for many, many people, because it is that, icon in pop culture in so many ways. And there are so many scenes I feel like I know word for word, or quotes I've adopted into daily life, and just like little jokes that basically anyone who I would hang out with would get, basically, from 15 years ago to now, like whether that's my parents or my friends or hanging out with you guys, like whether that's like Zed's Dead Baby or picking the katana or even little things like Butch and his girlfriend, and like, it's a big round pot belly and stuff like that. Like, if I've overeaten, exactly, yeah. If I've overeaten a bit and I'm feeling a bit bloated, like, oh, I've got a big round pot belly, and then we're going up, once you ride in that pot belly, like little things like that have just so seeped into my vocabulary and my.
It's cultural shorthand now, isn't it? Yeah.
It's culture. Yeah, it's cultural shorthand. Exactly. Ezekiel 25:17 and all that kind of stuff as well.
It became that almost instantaneously.
Like, yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's true.
And I love the little details in Pulp Fiction as well. There's so many nice little moments and nice little, like you said, visual stuff as well, Tim. Whether that's like, don't be a square, and she draws a rectangle, and it's like, fuck's sake.
I'm not going to do it. And there's a fantastic moment in the Auntie Donna Netflix. Don't be a. I'm not going to say it, but C word. It's just like, things I'm like playing with expectations, but that's a separate thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you're right.
And even down to things like the Vincent Vega bathroom thing. Like every time Vince goes to the loo, something
Batshit.
bad happens. Whether that's
Yeah.
he gets killed on the toilet by Butch, or Mia has her overdose while he's on the toilet. All this kind of stuff. Like every time he goes to the toilet,
His
and
food
then there's
arrived.
the thing of like, yes, exactly.
Oh no, wait. That's Uma Thurman goes to the toilet and comes out. I don't remember, but either way,
Either way,
thing.
It's a theory, and the fact that the Vega brothers that then builds on the lore and that connected Tarantino universe thing of I think we touched on this on the podcast previously, but only very briefly, where Tarantino has layers of his possible like MCU style connected universe thing, where there's the fictional side of it, which is what we think possibly Kill Bill might be, and then the real life of it, which is the Pulp Fiction and the Reservoir Dogs of it, because she talks about being in Fox Force 5 and like it's a TV show and there's this explosives expert and there's kick-ass like samurai girl and all this kind of stuff. And then you look at Kill Bill and you're like, explosives expert, kick-ass samurai girl. Okay. Like it's a brilliant little thing of like having little interconnected things that doesn't have to really like shove it in your face like everything kind of does now, because everything is trying to follow that kind of MCU kind of thing. Everything is connected. Look at what we're doing. It's all related to each other. Aren't we clever? He was almost kind of doing that. And like Kevin, we touched on the Viewer Skewniverse as well from Kevin Smith, like all that kind of little interconnected things like, oh, it's Jane Silent Bob again.
Yeah.
Does that mean
on the one side
we're in the
you
same
have Tarantino who's like hinting at it and like fans go like, oh, the Vega brothers, like Vega's a surname. They don't necessarily have to be related. It's like, no, that's definitely the Vega brothers. And the other side's like Viewer Skewniverse, where it's like, this is definitely all canon. Like,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a brilliant thing. Little quote here from Meatball Guy going from I want you to reach into that bag and take a mountain wallet. How do you know which one's yours? It's the one that says bad motherfucker on it. Samuel L. Jackson
being
just
sold immediately.
I have owned a bad motherfucker wallet that came with it came with an Ezekiel 25:17 card that had the little fake Bible quote on a little card and stuff. Yeah, I was a cool 17-year-old.
I know that Ashens can quote that Ezekiel passage really perfectly for some reason. Probably again because of again similar to us, age and experience. Like, oh yeah, that's the thing I want to know off by heart. It's a film quite like
stuff like owning the soundtrack, which had all of those quotes on it. Like it would have the dialogue from the film interspersed in with the soundtrack, which obviously was so good.
Yes.
Yep.
Back when soundtracks meant something.
I don't think I still know all the words to Ezekiel 25:17, but I definitely did back in the day. I used to be able to bust that out as a bit of a party trick. Yeah. And do the like, when I lay my vengeance upon thee, like getting really over the top. And
yeah. It's like learning a soliloquy when you're an actor and you're like, just drawing like the Royal Shakespeare Company and you go, but I know this from Henry IV. And it's like, oh, what a beautiful monologue. It's like, yeah, because you like the sound of it. You like how it flows and you like the performance. You want to do your own thing with it. That's what people would do.
Sam Jackson has just such a fantastic delivery of basically every line. Like the way Jules goes from like super intense to super quiet, and he's this weird like hitman going on a journey of faith and all this kind of stuff. And like whether it's like confronting Brett and talking to him like, oh, you a smart motherfucker, check out the brains on Brett, and then talking real quiet like, that's a tasty burger, as we've got in the little screenshot there from John. And then even in Ezekiel 25:17, he's going very quiet, and then very intense, and then very quiet, and then very intense again. And it's got this brilliant kind of cadence and flow to it. And then not even talking about like how great Ving Rhames is. And we're going to talk about Uma Thurman plenty of times, but Uma Thurman is fucking brilliant in this movie as well. Yeah.
I'm going to do a thing. I know it's going to be really bullshit, but I'm going to say it right now. And this is going to really upset the apple cup. I'm just going to just...
Uh-oh. You about to say the M
word?
Oh, wow. Wow, okay.
I mean, do we have any... I mean, we all defend Jackie Brown to a degree, but is there a point in voting at this stage?
I would have picked Pulp Fiction.
Tim?
I would have picked Pulp Fiction. I think if I would have liked to have seen Jackie Brown get further. I think if it had come up against some other things,
That's the
in
thing.
this
It could have gone a lot further.
if it had, if the ranking and the seeding had gone differently, I think it would have gone a lot further. But
I agree.
yeah, I think
And this is very reflective of the career, where it's like Pulp Fiction, and when that's in your head, Jackie Brown doesn't compare. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I saw Pulp Fiction first and then saw Jack Brown, and I was like, I mean, it was good, but like
Yeah.
it didn't blow me away like
hits
Reservoir
differently.
Dogs, like Pulp Fiction did. Yeah.
Right, Reservoir Dogs 1992, Kill Bill Volume
Reservoir
1
Dogs.
2003. This is going to be another tricky one.
This is a very tricky one. I think I like both of these movies, and so do the critics. Funnily enough, we'll go to 1992's Reservoir Dogs, which is 1 hour 45 minutes, a 91% on the tomatometer, and a 94% from the audience. So pretty high score in there. And 2003's Kill Bill Volume 1, 1 hour 50, so very similar runtime, 85 on the tomatometer and 81 on the audience score. So a little bit lower for both counts for Kill Bill Volume 1.
I worry that nostalgia is really colouring my opinion here, because I was 17 when Kill Bill Volume 1 came out, and I bought the Battle Without Honor or Humanity CD single at the time, which had the trailer, a digital file for the trailer for I think it was the first trailer for Kill Bill Volume 1 included with it, and I watched that shit over and over again on my parents' computer.
It was the height of cool.
It was.
And Reservoir Dogs I saw after I'd seen Pulp Fiction, and I think after I'd seen Jackie Brown as well. I think I came to it quite late, possibly even after I saw Kill Bill Volume 1. I didn't see it until relatively late in terms of, what was available at the time of Tarantino. And I was a little bit underwhelmed by it.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I would like to go back and rewatch it with kind of less fresh eyes, more mature eyes. I think Kill Bill was such an interesting pivot for Tarantino. Like you say, he went away for 6 years after Jackie Brown. Obviously, like, had other projects on the go and a lot of stuff in the that, sort of in that time. But to go from these relatively mature, although obviously violent, thrillers, crime dramas and stuff like that, and to say, no, my next film is going to be like a full-blown revenge film with fight scenes and samurai swords and like knife fights in suburban houses and stuff like that, was such a, like, nowadays we're quite used to like people getting dragged out of like having made a small indie film and then getting to make a DC film or a Marvel film or whatever. And this almost feels like the same happening to Tarantino, except he had creative control over the whole thing the whole time. It was like it was his superhero movie essentially. And I think that's such an interesting pivot. Like, you can kind of look back and go like, well, of course he was going to do that. Like, he'd got the esteem to do that, and all of these things are so, his affection for these films is so shot through even the earlier stuff. We talk about Butch picking up the katana in Pulp Fiction and stuff like that. Like, of course, once he had the clout, he was going to make some kind of like samurai action film. But I think it's interesting, and especially looking at then going into even stuff like Inglourious Bastards and Django Unchained, which are a lot more action-packed. than the previous films were. Like the violence in Reservoir Dogs and in Pulp Fiction and in Jackie Brown is like these short, intense bursts of it, and it's not. It's shocking rather than action. Like the violence is there for shock rather than action. Whereas subsequently his films are much more about like thrills.
Yeah, I'd like to pick up and run with that if I could, because
Go for it. Yeah.
that's genuinely going to split my vote for this one is the violence, because the way both films handle violence is very different. One is a world in which Quentin Tarantino does not exist, and one is a world where Quentin Tarantino does exist. So Reservoir Dogs, there is no Tarantino. He's only just starting. So it's like, oh, the film should be banned. Oh, it's got the most gruesome torture scene. The ear cutting stuff. I remember it very distinctly when I saw it. Again, it came out when I was fucking like 8. But I saw it quite young. And I remember it like, oh, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. He leaps towards him and it pans away.
Yep.
Hands back. Very tasteful. I rather like that. Now, that's a directorial choice. He's chosen, and the way he obviously, you still see the bloody ear and stuff. He's still like, hello, hello, hello. Oh, yeah, get the fuck out of me. That stuff, very, very twisted. Very, very visceral, but it's this very happy, upbeat song, and a bit of a dance going on at the same time. It's from Madsen. There's a lot there that we remember differently from how it's portrayed from the outrage, the horror of it all. Whereas in the world where Tarantino has done all these things and done Pulp Fiction with a man who died watching the movie in the early stages of like the festival circuit because they watched the adrenaline sequence and had a heart attack, and you're like. And I remember Tarantino lost his voice and said, what do you think about it? He still wants to say, he said, it works. It proves it works. It's like you should have said, I hope the guy's okay, is what you should have fucking said. The point is,
yes,
Kill Bill was a really beautiful, wonderful, visceral cut that I remember in the cinema thinking, oh, that is fantastic. And then I learned later that it wasn't his choice. It was to keep the rating down or keep it releasable. And it's when the Crazy 88 and the Bride go at it. And it cuts to black and white with the and then it goes finally, once the fight is over, back to color again, and there's just blood everywhere. It's like that's such a choice. That's such amazing like punch, because you're like, oh, and obviously now talk about black and white films elevating things, people having black and white versions and stuff, and that's fantastic. And then you realize, no, he had to do that. And you're like, oh, and this film, like, bits of heads being sliced off. It's very visceral, and I'm almost like a little disappointed that it doesn't have as much in the way of the creative side of it but that it's supposed to be that. So I do appreciate they're very different animals in that respect. So I do get that, but as I'm saying, there's an interesting divide there.
I think the thing with the adrenaline needle and like causing people to like have a heart attack because it was so tense and stuff like that is so fascinating, because it shows how far like culture and what is acceptable has moved on, because you can like that adrenaline needle to the heart has almost become like a cliche. It's like it's almost become like a cliche in stuff now. Like there's so many films where you've seen that happen now, and I don't know if Pulp Fiction was the first to do it, but given it's Tarantino, it's probably from some like, I don't know, Japanese thriller in 1982 or something.
Probably some really exploitative stuff and pinky violent things, and it's like, they're running around like idiots. But
but it's like the kind of thing you'd see in like, I don't know, like one of the MCU TV shows now or something ridiculous like that.
Jeremy Renner sits up going, oh,
so, and I don't know if that's just the way that our society has been going in terms of what is permitted even. Permissed.
Well, you know what I always bang on about with Double Indemnity, where I'm talking about the car won't start. It's like, holy shit, this is bad. Same thing. When it starts to become a trope, people go, oh, it's quite normal.
Yeah. But I wonder how much of that is just down to Pulp Fiction's impact in those terms.
Oh, yeah, that's valid.
Yeah.
Good point.
Anyway, Jack, what are your thoughts on these two?
I definitely saw Reservoir Dogs. I think I might have even seen Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction around the same sort of time. And my mum was like, "You got to see both of these movies; they're amazing," kind of thing. Very, my mum being a huge Jim Jarmusch and Coen Brothers fan, Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs are totally in her wheelhouse as well. There's like offbeat American crime drama type stuff is my mum's kind of thing. And yeah, I remember again, Reservoir Dogs is another one of those films that my parents and I grew up quoting to each other and doing all the whole torch you, that's a good idea, I didn't think of that. And Michael Madsen just being fucking terrifying and brilliant. as he often is. He seems that way in real life, by the way. I've seen interviews with him. He's fucking terrifying in real life. And it's just that intense and pretty scary in real life as well. I'm sure he's a nice guy, maybe, hopefully. I don't know if I can say that these days and with what's happened recently with everyone from Weinstein to Tarantino and Polanski and beyond. But yeah, you can't really say like, I'm sure they're a nice guy. Like, chances are they might not be. So, but yeah, I think Reservoir Dogs is. I never liked it as much as I liked Pulp Fiction when I was younger. Pulp Fiction was always like the bigger, more bombastic, cooler, more quotable version of it, basically for me, especially as like a 15-year-old or whatever I was. But I did really appreciate Reservoir Dogs and made me appreciate Tim Roth and how fucking brilliant Tim Roth is for basically his entire career. And I just followed him and be like, oh, Tim Roth's in it. Brilliant. Yeah, he's going to be good. You can't really go wrong with Tim Roth, which I always appreciate. And and just everything like the influence that I think his style of dialogue, especially from the Pulp Fiction and the Reservoir Dogs side of things, the Madonna talk at the beginning of Reservoir Dogs, where it's all going to be like this huge, you think it's going to be this huge heist, violent shit, and they're just, I'm just going to have coffee talking about paying waitresses and stuff, and like, hey, you don't need to tip, and all this kind of stuff. That bringing the mundanity to the violent crime world thing and like tying those two together. I always think of Reservoir Dogs, and whenever that kind of thing comes up, I always think, yeah, that's a kind of Tarantino kind of thing. And then jumping over to Kill Bill, that was something I consciously sought out, like having seen Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. And as I got into in our samurai film episode, like growing up watching samurai films with my parents as well, I was like, oh, Tarantino's doing a samurai film. Oh my God, I need this in my life. And then I was kind of balancing that with me getting into anime at the time as well, because there's obviously very clear anime. You mentioned the Crazy 88 fight, Matt, with the chopping of the arm and the blood just goes like in this crazy over the top, very anime style and stuff.
Well, there's the love that anime sequence as well. So
the literal anime section, exactly, with the little Lucy character whimpering and stuff, and then murdering that guy. The thing that always freaked me out about that scene, I don't know why it's always stuck with me, is that he grits his teeth so much they break.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh, that's always got me. Every time I like grit my teeth, that scene flashes, and I'm like, I'm gonna
visceral animation. It's got a ninja scroll, possibly. Yeah. Again, exactly. I think I've seen that before. It's a classic Tarantino thing. It's like, I've seen that somewhere. Because he did.
Is that an original? Did I ever say that? I've seen that somewhere before. Oh, I don't know. I'm sure it's fine. I was like, no, he is probably referencing something.
Well, it's fascinating because
stealing a thing.
Well, yeah, because he with Reservoir Dogs specifically, I can hear in my head, "Are you cool? Are you cool? I am cool." And then immediately I can hear the fun-loving criminals singing about Scooby Snack. You guys are but Tarantino.
Fun fact: my first ever live show was Fun Loving Criminals. First gig I ever went to was Fun Loving Criminals. Okay. I've seen them live multiple times.
Oh, fair play. But the point is that Tarantino, of all people, not necessarily sued them, but took them to task about it and got a third of the royalties. It's like a 3-minute song, and he was like, well, a minute of it is my samples from Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, so I'll be taking that, thank you very much. And he won the case, and he got the royalties as well.
Wow,
like 37%, whatever it was, of the royalties. Crazy stuff. Let's get to voting though, because I'm genuinely curious about this one, because I think it's going to be. This might be where we peel off and start being really divisive.
Potentially, yeah. Back down to me.
My vote, I was saying my vote was technically Pulp Fiction. We didn't really vote on it, but I don't know.
You pressed the button for Pulp Fiction, Matthew.
That's
That's
what I'm
your
saying.
vote.
I voted for all of us.
Yeah, you voted on behalf of the three of
Back
us.
to you, Jack, in the studio.
I'm here with the weather, and I'm gonna pick Kill Bill Volume 1. Tim, how about you?
I'm also going to go Kill Bill.
Oh, Matthew, what would you have gone for?
Reservoir Dogs.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We'll
I
get
think
to this in a
something
minute,
I
but
know
yeah.
about you, Matt, that I think the viewers are about to find out. If I'm correct in thinking you prefer Volume 2 over Volume 1 of Kill Bill?
I really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, I thought you did.
Which is really upsetting because of this bracket. So we're now down here. No, we're not up here first. Yes, that's correct.
Up
So
here
wait,
first.
didn't Kill Bill win?
Yeah, that's what I put, isn't it?
No,
Oh.
you put Reservoir
Oh
Dogs.
my God, you're right.
You sneaky little
What a
bastard.
bastard! I'm so sorry. That was genuinely subconscious and unintentional.
You sneaky sneak.
That was a bit weird. Sorry. My apologies. I'm so sorry. Yes. Yes. I do prefer Kill Bill Volume 2. I think we'll get to it later when I actually cover it, but I think it's a superior half. Django Unchained. I can't see this with Will Smith. I kind of wish I'd loved to have seen the version where Will Smith is the lead.
God, yeah.
As was intended, but I think Fox is fantastic in it, and it's what sort of like reminded us that Christoph Waltz is a one-note joke. He wasn't a flash in the pan. He was here to stay. This is considered on our bracket, according to our thing, the second highest rated of his films. Hence the seeded accordingly, and I think it's great. I don't think
It's not on Rotten Tomatoes, by the way. For the record.
No, I was going to say, I think it's remarkably exploitative for obvious reasons, and it's supposed to be intentionally going out of its way to be. In fact, I feel also it weirdly imitates
Austin
A Fistful of
Powers?
Dollars. And in that the film sort of you get to a point like film's over now. It's like no, I've got another half an hour to go. And like really?
Yeah.
You could just end the story here quite neatly. I don't really think you needed to. And DiCaprio's great as always. Great performances and wonderful scenes. Blah 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 blah. Too fucking long. Production design's fantastic. Jack, hit us with the numbers.
I'll hit you with some numbers. From 2012, it's Django Unchained. We've got an 86 on the Tomatometer score from 294 reviews, and slightly higher with the audience score, interestingly enough, with a 91 on the audience side of things. So I think that 91%, obviously the IMDb side of things is public scoring, so that's more reflective of the audience scores. So that's the thing. That kind of makes sense that the seeding works out closer to the audience score from that kind of thing. Before we dive into Django, I have officially clashed with Remy at last. And Jack and Tim, we are dead to Remy. He much prefers Reservoir Dogs over Kill Bill Volume 1. Quite a few people were picking Reservoir Dogs, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I think it's entirely understandable, but...
Because, oh, yeah, fuck them.
Oh, yeah. They can go fuck themselves.
No, I get it. It's our thing, but also at the same time, I'm with the chat for once. So, yeah. But anyway, Django. The O is silent. Dang.
Dang. That's very onomatopoeic.
Yeah. So, there's a football going on, and Tim lives near a pub. I forgot about that.
There is, yes.
Yeah.
I heard people whistling outside my flat earlier. Like, okay, there's a football.
That's just catcalling you.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So
we'll touch on some Will Smith stuff. We've got a couple of comments in here talking about that. I think you're totally right, Matt. It would be a very different feeling movie if that was the Fresh Prince Unchained. That would be a very different movie. Even if Will Smith had been Django, I honestly don't think I could have handled him saying the N-word. Even in recent years, Smith hasn't felt like someone would be comfortable at saying it. He does say it. He has said it on camera a few times.
He does.
Yeah.
See our next comment by Dr. Kane.
Yeah.
He says it in Ali. He also says it in Bad Boys 2.
He does.
Quite a lot.
He does.
because Martin Lawrence says it a lot, and the whole thing
back and forth.
But yeah, I just can't imagine it. Jamie Foxx is great in Django, and I think when I think of Jamie Foxx, it is a performance of his I think of, alongside things like Ray and the more kind of like real emotional, powerful pieces. But he seems like he's having
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Obviously, yes. No Way Home as well. Yeah, absolutely love. Yeah, all 12 minutes of him in that movie.
He's actually good in
I think
No Way
Jamie
Home. He's a lot better.
He is really good. He's better in No Way Home than he was in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah,
which is not hard because that version of Max is fucking awful. But yeah, I thought it was interesting what you said earlier, Matt. That you said like, "Oh, this kind of proved that Christoph Waltz wasn't a flash in the pan kind of thing." And I was like, "Did it though?" It's like what? Like he's done. Obviously, he went. Obviously, he did Inglourious Basterds. We'll get to that in a moment. Then Django Unchained, another good example. Then Spectre, like
these are big franchises. That's not like Hollywood still loves him. And again, he's like a 65-year-old Austrian.
He's not good in it, so it's
he
like
got paid. No. Sure. It's not about he didn't do a bad performance per se in it. The script lets him down. He's still doing something and he's also
the only
one
good line of "I am the author of all your pain." It's like and then the rest of it is just
He's won 2 Oscars, and they're both Tarantino movies. Is that right?
It's these 2 movies. Yes.
Yeah.
He wins Best Supporting Actor for these 2, for Bastards and Django.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I remember him from like the was it the Koeniger, the King of the Last Day, whatever it was, which is really good. But that's ages ago in his career. But if you think about how much he's been in, franchise-wise and who he's worked with. I mean, case in point, his next film is Pinocchio with Del Toro, as obviously doing a voice for that film, for stop motion. So he hasn't gone anywhere. He was in the French Dispatch and things like that. So he's still working with some of the best or biggest names. In fact, that's what I'm getting at. He's not like, I'm a headline guy in every movie I'm in, but people know him. I think outside of Arnold, he might be the most famous Austrian actor at this point. Maybe.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
Can't think of anyone else.
Yeah, that's what I mean by the impact and his thing and his presence, etc., etc. I think Marvel or DC might get hold of him, but he's 65, so maybe they won't bother. But I don't know. Who knows? Anyway. So yes,
I must say, I was a little underwhelmed by Django when I saw it.
It's got the worst fucking Tarantino supporting role. Christ.
Yeah.
Is that weird Australian or
yeah.
whatever he's supposed to fucking be?
Does he say the N-word again in this one?
Quite a lot.
Like he does.
And then gets blown up with dynamite.
Yeah.
Yes.
I kind of want to go again, want to rewatch Django Unchained at some point because I think I'm not sure what my expectations were going in, but I feel like they probably coloured my experience of it. And again, it has that thing, like we said, of you feel like you've got to the end and then it just carries on for a bit more. And I can't remember if it came out the same year as 12 Years a Slave or quite close to.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah.
Is it something, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah. I think the fact that you had that, which was being made by a director of colour, a black director, that was so unflinching in its depictions of racism and slavery and all those kind of things. And then you had Django, which was just
colourful weirdness.
Yeah. And like it's the thing of like I don't ever think to look to Tarantino for a sensitive handling of a subject.
Yeah. I think that's a really good parallel to bring up because I think it was 2012 as Django Unchained, and I think 2013 or 2014 is when 12 Years a Slave came out.
2013, you're correct.
2013, because it's one of the other. But most importantly, they were both had a similar. I know it sounds like a stupid thing to say, but bear with me. They had a similar look and feel to them because obviously they're set in the same time period, in the same era, in the same location. But they had the production design behind it to look like they could have a crossover. Effectively, it's like they're both hitting the same thing. One's obviously a hyper real nonsense version.
Django feels like it's got the saturation turned up a bit.
True. That's
not in an unreal way, just in a, obviously
some of the scenes in the sun are a little bit like
the fact that he's wearing that blue suit as well, like
exactly.
it has that bit of levity to it as well,
and
compared to the unending heaviness of 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah. And obviously they're trying to do very different things, They are approaching the topic in very different ways, and I'm not comparing them in that regard, but it does. I think the fact that they both came out quite close together doesn't do Django any favors.
Agreed.
Whereas it doesn't have any real impact on 12 Years a Slave. 12 Years a Slave still is a masterpiece.
Yes,
But I it's one I need to go back and rewatch, I think. I think it's got great moments in it, and obviously like Leo, like Christoph Waltz is great. Leo is great. The whole thing of him like shattering his glass and cutting his hand open and carrying on. That's a great anecdote.
An unsung or underrated individual in this movie. Again, it's Samuel fucking Jackson. Really playing a really
that
role.
Actually, that might be the best, even with like Jules and stuff. That might be the best performance that
it's the most complex
Tarantino has got out of Samuel L. Jackson, who is obviously someone he's collaborated with many a time.
I think saying it's complex though, that is interesting because he is the like conflicted character in that movie, going for that kind of, he's siding with his masters but also trying to work out where he lies, trying to help the slaves and all this kind of stuff. And like often Samuel L. Jackson's characters are like, I'm a cool motherfucker and I'm gonna kick the shit out of you and I'm gonna win, or like he leans into the more like comedic, this is one of his more nuanced kind of conflicted performances,
and a role where he's very, Samuel L. Jackson's characters tend to always be in command of the situation and be happy to take that
very
role.
much so.
And this is one where he is aware that he is incredibly low status in that society, and he is doing his best to like advance himself, but on the fringes of stuff. He can't just stroll out into the middle of the room and be like, "Pay attention, motherfuckers! I'm in charge here." Like he's trying to achieve kind of the same things, but he's got to do it. It's a kind of an almost like an Iago type role, or like a Wormtongue type thing.
It's fascinating because it's not my place to talk about it, especially with history and things. But there is a coding here, effectively, which is between for African American people specifically, looking at a certain type of other African American people at this time period, using none of the vernacular for obvious reasons. But if you to this day, if you want to, if one black man wants to insult another one for specific things and siding with certain groups and individuals, Christ, this is hard to dance around. You would call that individual this character's position or status, because it's like, you have chosen a life of luxury over the rest of us. You have chosen to turn,
and you have sided with the white people, right? Like you have put your fellow African Americans behind you to try and basically give us all a big middle finger.
So basically, it's the most complex role for him because he is literally, he's just as much of a villain, and it's twisted and awful because he is so almost Stockholm syndrome style devoted to this family, which is like, they own you. Are you fucking insane? But that's like, obviously you can say it now with a very contemporary lens, but it's a very hard thing to watch, and yada yada yada. Point is,
and you don't get people in that situation without the atrocities that were done to black people.
That's exactly it.
Yes. Exactly.
And So as much as he is a villain and very much becomes a central villain, is he more a victim of circumstance? And how much is he survival from self? Or blah, blah, blah. Very interesting thing. And he plays it fantastically because, again, Samuel Jackson has the weight of that behind him. He knows that. But because Tarantino has framed it with his lens, it just comes off a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's going to be a quick vote, isn't it?
There's a great little comment here from General Pandemonium. I want to highlight this in particular. Fun fact: Django has a sequel comic where he teams up with Zorro. I did know that because the artist who drew that comic, Estelle Poles, also drew my D-Day comic that I wrote a couple of years ago. It is the same artist who wrote that. So yeah, I know Django Zorro came out in like 2015, I think. He'd gone off and do a few other things, and we eventually ended up working together on my D-Day comic that came out. Yeah, 2 years ago now. Jesus Christ, time is a flat circle.
Check it out, guys, and get it on Amazon. It's a really good read.
Thanks, man.
It's not even just like a slimy plug. I own a copy. I really like it. If you're curious about the history of D-Day, it's actually really well done.
Yeah, it's all kept within the 24 hours of D-Day itself, and is all kind of told from different perspectives. Even touch on the Axis and Allies, like different sides of it, and all that kind of stuff. It's called D-Day: Storming Fortress Europe. I did not choose that title. I hate that title.
Writers will never choose the headlines or the titles of their stuff because some publisher goes, "It's better if we call it this." It's like, ugh.
Don't get me started on this project. But anyway, yes, we should get to voting.
Tim,
it's over to you, I think.
Yeah, as much as I am a secret supporter of Death Proof and a little lukewarm on Django, it is definitely the better film. So Django.
Agreed. Django, clean sweep.
Cool. Oh, this is unfortunate, man. Inglourious Bastards, as we said before, probably our favorite film, respectively. Kill Bill Volume 2. I like it more than the first one. I think it's better paced. I think there's more stuff that I remember in it. I think there's some better conversations. Jack, do you want to give some numbers right before we get into it, please?
I certainly can, indeed. We'll kick off with
the two closest ones, right? In terms of proximity of years.
Yes, in chronology. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 2004 for Kill Bill Volume 2, 84% on the tomatometer, 89% on the audience score. And then jumping forward 5 years to 2009, Inglourious Bastards is an 89 on the tomatometer and an 88 on the audience score. So very, very similar. Slightly higher on the tomatometer and 1% lower on the audience score for Bastards, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah.
So why don't we kick off with you, Matt? Why don't you talk about why you prefer Kill Bill 2 to Kill Bill 1? Because I'm intrigued. If I had to guess, I would have guessed it was that way around because I know you and your tastes, but let us know why you prefer Volume 2.
Yeah, so Kill Bill Volume 1, I think is fantastic. I remember sitting in the cinema thinking, this is amazing. There's so much of an onslaught of stuff. It's so cool. The characters are great. The world building is very cool. No idea who Bill's going to be. Oh, this is amazing. And the reveal at the end. It's just this wonderful momentum of stuff that's coming through. The whole, my name is Buck stuff is vile, and the anime thing is a nice addition, and the Orenishi things and various cameo bits. It's like, this is fantastic. I love it. It's a thrill ride of stuff. But the heart of the film is in the second one. And we also about these bisected movies where it's like, it's Hunger Games Part 1 and 2, or Twilight, the fourth one, Part 1, and it's been snipped in half, and it's half a story. It's all the foreplay, and then just 2 hours of orgasm. It's like, this should be separated out, but that's not what this is. This is a different kind of film, kind of experience, because so many flashbacks and this story. And for me, there's some great moments, like in the first film, you have the is it Vivica Fox? It is, isn't it?
Yeah,
Vivica Fox. Yeah, that's all cool and stuff. But in this movie, there are some more things. So first of all, we get the wedding flashback. Opens with that. It's great. I'm really fascinated by that stuff. and how she got out of this industry. Then we have Elle Driver's side of a story. That's also very cool. The Pai Mei stuff is brilliant. The Kung Fu inspiration is great. And again,
Fucking
all this
Gordon Liu.
precise, and him, yeah, he's great in
He's
the
amazing.
in the Crazy 88s, but he's much better as Pai Mei, and that's just it's just wonderful. And of course, how he learns this technique, and we learn about how she's been buried alive. That's an intense scene. That whole buried alive stuff,
God, yeah.
magnificently done. And I just like, I'll punch my way out of this, and how did I learn to do it, and that sort of thing. And how she has this personal vendetta with Elle, because she, you know, she. I love how like Daryl Hannah like almost hammily just says, "That's right, I killed your master," and it's like, oh, it's just over the top. And she doesn't kill her; she just takes her eye from it. Like, that's the revenge. You're now. It's wonderful. And then finally we get the sitting down with Bill, and the final. And this is a very Matthew-y thing. The final showdown is a conversation, and with the truth serum. And you got Carradine just being enigmatic as fuck and just absorbing the scene. And I know there's a lot of controversial opinions about his Superman analogy, that Superman is Clark Kent is because he's not wrong. He's just using a Batman logic, which is for those who don't know, he says Superman is Superman. He wakes up and he's Superman. Clark Kent is the costume, and it's a really interesting point where it's like, yeah, no, you're right. That is correct. Superman is Superman. Clark Kent is who he's posing as. And who does this alien see us as? Weak, scared, a fool. It's like, now you've become Lex Luthor. That's how Lex sees the world. That's how Batman thinks he sees the other personal insult. Also,
I would argue that both Superman and Clark Kent are performances, and there is a third, which is the kind of
with
Clark
his parents?
when he's back with his parents and can be openly superhuman, but is also just a guy from the country who is a good person.
Yeah. See, there you go. That's the real comic book insight. That's what is true. But the key thing is, for the analogy of the thing he's trying to get across, saying like, you're a killer, you can't have this little life, because and like all bad guys, he's twisting a narrative and an argument, and I don't think I'm giving it more nuance than it deserves, because I know Tarantino didn't intend to do that. He was just trying to make a sassy point and went, oh my god, he's completely right.
But I also don't. I'm not sure that there's a
direct correlation.
I don't trust Tarantino to put characters spouting opinions about pop culture in his films that he doesn't also share.
Oh no, he is doing a Snyder. He is giving you exactly his own thoughts and opinion. That's him speaking through all the characters. Entirely. Yeah.
I don't think Tarantino tips, for example.
I don't think Tarantino tips at all. These are the reasons I don't want a Tarantino Star Trek film. It's like, I know what Kirk would do. Kirk would kill Spock in a heartbeat just to get through him to fuck Sulu. I'm like, what? Also, I think the toy is not important. What? That kind of, point is, Kill Bill Volume 2, it's less flash, but it's much more of a film, but both are whole experiences. But in a weird way, you can kind of watch Kill Bill Volume 2 without Kill Bill Volume 1, and it still works. You can't do that with Kill Bill Volume 1 because it's half a story, and it just leads up to a cliffhanger. Nothing wrong with that, because that's how it's designed. And obviously, when you watch them both together, they are fantastic, and I think Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 combined might be my favorite Tarantino experience. Possibly.
Right, yeah.
That's why I prefer 2 over 1, but it's a preference thing. It's just my own bits. But Inglourious Basterds is so fucking good. Ain't no way this motherfucker's getting out of here. It's crazy a bit. Give it a bit of fluff before it gets fucking eviscerated.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sorry, you go ahead, Jack.
I was just going to say that's why I let Matt talk about Kill Bill Volume 2. So we're all going to talk about Inglourious Basterds, so you needed the platform to talk about Volume 2.
Need to get out the way.
I'm going to say a few more things about Kill Bill Volume 2.
Go for it.
Because it's interesting, because in my mind, Kill Bill Volume 2 feels a lot more episodic. Because I think that it's more complex and it's more emotional. And obviously it's a film that's told in chapters, so there are elements of, even in Volume 1, that are episodic, like the Vivica A. Fox fight at the beginning kind of is separate to the rest of the stuff. But it's, to me, the first one is very much, because it has that big it's her awakening. The horrible scene with Chuck. Every time, I know he absolutely deserves it, but the Achilles tendon being taken out just makes me go. And then it's that kind of that single-minded pursuit to get to Oren Ishii, and we get then her backstory filled in as we're on the journey there. That amazing action scene, and then at the end it kind of cuts away to that cliffhanger. To me, Volume 2 feels a lot more like all over the place in my memory.
No, that's fair. I think because you're right. Kill Bill Volume 1 does have, like, it starts with the knife fight stuff.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. And then goes back to, I'm going to find Orenishi. And it just goes. And you're right. There is that continuous flow.
Yeah.
So that's fair. This one does balance around more,
Yeah. But then I think that there are sequences within Kill Bill 2 that are probably much higher. Like, I love the fight with Elle in the trailer. I love the
sword with the limited shit.
Yes, yeah.
Which again, I wonder where they fucking got that fucking Twilight Samurai motherfucker. Sorry,
and even just stuff like Elle reading the description of the venom as Buck is
Black
getting.
Mamba.
Yeah. And the shock of, I can remember the shock in the cinema of when the bride is just going up to the door, and then it's just Buck there with the rock salt shotgun and just blasts.
Bud.
Yeah, Bud. Sorry,
Bud.
Yeah. Yes, Bud, not Buck.
Buck comes back and like, oh shit, my name is Buck. Clack clack. Sorry.
Again, Michael Madsen being fucking amazing there again.
Yeah. Grizzly little fucker. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so different in tone. It's still very like pulpy, to steal another Tarantino word, but it's I can remember when the trailer to this one came out, and it instantly was like, oh, okay, this isn't going to be the roller coaster ride, even though that there are some spectacular action scenes in it, and I do love that the conversation and the very brief fight that they have with the five point
death punch,
exploding death punch. Yeah.
Explain heart technique there. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
5-point palm exploding heart technique.
There we go.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes, and I also I love the the bit with Elle and the Beatrix, where she's like, just what was it you said to Pai Mei to make him hit your eye out? Because that little revelation that she that's how she lost the first eye is great. Yeah, but fucking Inglourious Bastards.
It's so good.
It's so good.
There's a note here from Remy as we get into Inglourious Bastards. Remy, being from Switzerland, Bastards always feels like it was made for me. I speak all the language that were used in it, and it's just generally an amazing movie. First of all,
record scratching.
I'm very jealous. But yeah, the fact that we have French, German, and English all combined in that film so beautiful, and we touched on it in our opening scenes. The fucking opening scene in Bastards is a masterpiece.
Yeah,
it's a short film all in of itself.
Yeah,
fucking and the way language is used. The reason I highlighted that comment from Remy is that the way Christoph Waltz's Hans Lander swaps between English, German, and French at different moments to talk to different characters, and purposefully doesn't speak to them in their native language sometimes in order to like gain control over them. Basically, he's fucking delicious. Hans Lander is such an interesting, horrible fucking character, but he's such a powerful, brilliant performance by Waltz that you just get this amazing, like, it's going to sound really redundant for me to say, he feels kind of like a brilliant Bond villain. But being able to speak multiple languages, being able to manipulate people, and like the moments with the strudel and the delicious glass of milk and all this kind of stuff, weird little quirks that make you think like, oh, he's not such a bad guy after all. He's like, no, he's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
He's a literal Nazi.
It's amazing because we remember these things now. We're like, oh, Shoshana Dreyfus. Oh God. Oh, Hitler getting shot in the face. Oh my God. Oh, and Daniel Bruhl's amazing. Oh, and Christoph Waltz, stand out. This film was advertised as a Brad Pitt's gonna go around kill Nazis. I want scalp. It's like
I want my Nazi scalps.
Yeah, it's one of those things because obviously it's like we can't show clips from this movie. Why not? It's in German and French and shit, and it's hard to market to an American audience. Just show us Brad Pitt recruiting
carving.
people.
He's also carving swastikas in people's foreheads. So, you know,
I would say though, I still think the only thing about this movie I would like to have had altered. I really wish it was Adam Sandler.
I knew I wanted to bring up.
I always bring it up. Anyone seen Uncut Gems knows it's like that could have been a fucking.
For those of you who don't know,
moment.
So those of you who don't know, Eli Roth's character, the Bear Jew, as he's known,
yeah,
Donnie
Donowitz, possible link to
Donnie Donowitz,
True Romance.
Yeah,
there you go. Thank you, Matthew. Was nearly played by Adam Sandler. That's so fascinating. Can you imagine the scenes that would have happened in cinemas when
he comes up
with
with
the baseball bat? The baseball bat just tapping against the wall. That
be a basketball with Adam Sandler.
Exactly. But then I mean, like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, they're hyping him up as this guy that like caves in people's heads with a. It's fucking Adam Sandler. Oh my god. Instead, I went, oh, it's Eli Roth. Like,
it was like, oh, Eli Roth. And when he does the thing, it's like, all the way out to Fenway Park, and he's doing his big thing. But can you imagine the fucking gleeful madness of his sound? And also then to get to the end of the film, bang, kick the door in, hey Goebbels, and Hitler, and like just like emptying machine guns in his face, and with Adam Sandler's face just cackling away.
Yeah, I've never wanted Adam Sandler in a film. Full stop.
Oh, I know he's capable. So I've seen Punch Drunk Love and stuff. So I mean,
sure,
I know it could work, but I'm like, I want to play a Bond villain. I'm kidding. But yeah, sorry, you're right.
I would watch the fuck out of that cut, that version of Inglourious Basterds. It would be so good.
Yeah.
It's me, James. I'm the architect of all your fear.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. It's my vote first. I don't even want to give it as a consolatory. I don't think that's necessary. I think I can't. It'd be a lie. Inglourious Basterds.
Inglourious Basterds for me as well.
Yep. Not that
Clean
it's needed,
sweep.
but Bastards.
No, that's fair. We are now at a point. Bloop. We've discussed everything.
Yes.
And it's gonna be cleaner than I thought.
It's gonna be May.
It's gonna be May. Yes, I think this is actually quite easy for me, but we'll see how. Because again, Wargame was like, oh, I don't know about this because it was a very different end up. All right, let's fucking get into it. Let's just do it.
Just get stuck in, son.
Oh, here we are.
Giving you all your numbers. We've got all the stats. We've talked about every movie. Pulp Fiction versus Kill Bill Volume 1. It is tricky.
For the fact that he's got 10 films here, and these are 2 and 4 in terms of the chronology, they feel so far apart.
Yeah, they really do. Yeah,
precisely. But also, we're talking about close to a decade.
Yeah.
Because there's a big old gap with Jackie Brown not doing what he may have wanted.
94 to 2003. So, 9-year difference there. As John Scarrett puts it, hamburgers versus sushi.
Fucking hell, yeah. That is.
I'm vegetarian, so I don't know.
Is it? I'm trying to remember what they order when they go to the House of Blue Leaves, and they're pestering
question.
Charlie Brown for food.
God,
Or is it? Or are
I
they
have
just
no
asking
idea.
for booze? I can't remember.
I think it's mostly sake.
Yeah.
Sake. Good question. Though.
Motto Panakeko. No, that's a different film.
Moto Panakeku. I respect that reference, Tim.
Who's first?
I believe that'd be
Me?
you. Yeah.
Fair one
it's
to
you.
me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do we? I mean, do we?
Uh,
I feel like we've said
Final fucking hell.
we've pretty much said everything that we've got to
sorry.
say about these films.
Oh, it's just straight to the vote.
Yeah.
Unless,
Yeah. Straight to
Yeah.
the vote. Pulp Fiction for me. Tim.
Kill Bill weighs heavy on my psyche,
Oh.
but I'm gonna go Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
No. Fucking hell.
People are already pissed off that we picked it over Reservoir Dogs. I think
I'll put it this way. For me, this is I really love Kill Bill Volume 1, but Pulp Fiction. However,
Yes.
if this was Pulp Fiction Reservoir Dogs, I'd be here for a while.
Yeah.
I'd have genuine problems. But fair play. Pulp Fiction it is.
Yep.
One straight after the other in this case. And yeah. Okay, here we go.
Yep.
Tim, you're up first.
I'm first. Yeah, like I say, I was a little bit lukewarm on Django, whereas Inglourious Bastards, to me, I think we did have a comment about, is all of Tarantino's films are a little bit meandering and a little bit, there are scenes that could probably be cut out of all of them, but I think Inglourious Bastards is quite long, but it's still remarkably tight, and it's one of the few, possibly the only one of his films where I feel like there are almost like more stories to be told in this universe.
Oh, interesting.
Like
Yeah.
I feel like
I wouldn't mind a sequel to this.
yeah, like
Tell the
I-
war
I'm not
Sequels we'd like to see.
I'm not sure I'd want a sequel so much as I'd want, I want to see more of the Bastards at work, and I want to see
Right.
other stuff that's going on at the same time. Like I want to maybe find
side
out more.
call.
Yeah, about where some more about Fassbender's character, like where he comes from
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I feel like there could be more of these like flashbacks and side adventures and stuff like that. It feels like such a
we barely even scratched the surface on the cast of Bastards earlier.
yeah,
And how fucking spectacular it is.
yeah,
Blow up a
From
basket.
Brad Pitt
Michael Myers.
through to
yeah,
Or Mike Myers.
Eh,
not
right?
fucking
Yeah.
Michael Myers.
yeah,
Til Schweiger is amazing as well.
yeah,
His kind of breakout role into English speaking cinema and stuff.
yeah.
Everything. Fassbender, Diane Kruger's fucking brilliant. Like,
Yeah.
oh man. So
Yeah,
good.
like I wanna know how Bridget von Hammersmark got involved in the Resistance, and all this kind of stuff. And I really
here's an
like
idea.
that it.
Netflix
Yeah.
series, The Bastards.
Yeah,
Sign me up.
yeah,
Even an animated one, I could imagine them doing something like that.
yeah. And also I want Sam Levine to get more work.
I just remembered, fucking speaking of Bond, in the very same scene, Leah Seydoux
Yeah.
is one of the daughters of the
Yeah.
Lapadites.
Yeah, it's like one of her first film
Yeah,
roles.
exactly.
Especially
Yeah.
in Hollywood, I think.
Yeah, definitely, definitely,
Yeah.
yeah. Just it's been like, oh yeah, you two.
Yeah,
And Walt's been
All the
there. Sorry,
Bonds.
yes,
That's
just yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So Bastards. The fucking the screen cap that we've got there from the wonderful John Scarrett, just like
That
this
was
is
my
the
highlighted
face-
quote in my review.
The face of Jewish
vengeance.
rage. Yeah,
Yeah. And the face of Jewish vengeance, and then cutting to Eli Roth.
yeah,
I mean, the thing that for me, I remember watching it in the Cinema City, oddly enough, in Norwich, and it was the gleeful fourth wall breaking moment. It's not actually fourth wall breaking, but it kind of fucking is.
Mhm.
And it's just it's Brad Pitt smiling and saying, "You know what, Yudovich? This may just be my masterpiece."
Yeah.
I think Tarantino always knew. I think again, the man speaks without filters. Like, I think, yeah, I've made a fucking woman. The only problem I have with Inglourious Bastards, pick one font. I don't need 50 fonts, you psychopath.
It's one of those Facebook T-shirt generator things, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
you might be cool, but are you a Chihuahua owning 36-year-old who loves cheese on their pizza and beer on a Saturday night? And each one of those words is in a different fucking font. It's like, oh, it drives me
reckon
insane.
That's a bite down and break your teeth moment.
Do you reckon
Yeah.
Tarantino's secretly, like, his house is secretly full of those, like, live, laugh, love, like...
Yes.
It just says feet, feet, feet.
Just about to say.
It's live feet, laugh feet, love feet.
It's
Moving on.
Feet, foot, fetish.
Brilliant. Horrific and brilliant.
Oh god. I
Um,
hate everything we just said out loud.
just so you know, it's Inglourious Bastards for me. Jack, would you have gone
Same for
differently?
me. Clean sweep for the bastards.
There it is.
Well, at the
I'm
finale.
pretty sure this was predicted.
Yeah.
yes, it was.
Yep.
MC349 coming straight in there. Of course, Remy slightly off because he wanted Reservoir Dogs. Reservoir Dogs versus Bastards with Bastards winning.
Remy,
But my call, that will be wrong. So
I could
kind
have
of
seen Reservoir
beating
Dogs
himself.
and Blast Bastards in the final. I'd have really struggled with Pulp Fiction or Dogs, but I could see that being the final. So
Pulp Fiction for the win from Dr. Vincent Gain. Eventual
birthday
winner
boy.
following up on the prediction there. Winner Pulp Fiction is the most iconic, but it's not my favorite. So yeah, a few dissenters there. And now, in classic John Scarrett style, it's hamburgers versus strudel, of course.
wait for the cream.
Or $5 shake versus tasty glass of milk.
Oh,
Tasty
wait.
glass.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Yes, my apologies.
$5
For
shake.
some reason. Yeah, I know why I was completely thrown there because in my head I'm still doing fucking Reservoir Dogs. God damn it. Sorry.
It's-
Yes.
That's a pretty fucking good milkshake versus a delicious glass of milk.
It's like I wrote.
They can be
fucking thing.
milk-based quotes. Yeah. No wonder you're such a big fan, Matthew.
Strudel. It's not made until you get the cream, which is as good as milk. I'm first, aren't I?
God. You are,
You
yes.
are.
Oh, here's a question from the birthday boy himself, not Quentin Tarantino, unfortunately. Does Bastards beat Pulp Fiction because of the milk? But as we just said, Pulp Fiction has a pretty fucking good milkshake. So
Not maybe $5 was a good milk.
and a $5 shake is a pretty cheap milkshake these days.
Yeah.
I would happily take a $5 shake at a nice restaurant. I've paid like £6, which is like $8 or $9 for a milkshake.
I paid a tenner for something that's in a very small
Of course you have.
class. I've gone.
You're an
oh, fuck.
addict. You have a problem. This is an intervention.
That's fair. That's fair.
Actually,
all been building towards
fact,
this.
viewers. Yeah. Fun fact, viewers. As much as we tease Matt, this was a problem. And if it had carried on, we might have needed to do an intervention. But to your credit, Matthew, you don't drink anywhere near as much milk as you did a few years ago. Like
No, I drink a lot of it, but not
it
nearly
was
as
a
much.
full-on like multiple gallons a day type thing at its peak.
Yes.
And now you're like, not as much. And
I'd
like,
say
every
I'd
time I would come to
half
record at
it.
your house, I'd be like, what do you need? Do you need me to pick up anything on the way? Be like, get me some milk. I need eight gallons of milk, please, Jack. And I was like, okay, fine.
Yeah, I
Right,
was very
show up.
specific. I still buy a
Yeah.
lot of milk. I still consume a lot of milk, but not nearly as. I still consume probably twice as much as most of the average people. and anyone watching this right now. But for me personally, it's about halved. So
you were 4 times the average person. You're now twice the average person in dairy consumption.
I think that's about right, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that sounds about right.
I
I wonder. I would have given you more credit. I thought it was more like 8 or 9 times the average person, and you're now on twice. Because I feel like it was insane, and I haven't seen you drink milk in a long while.
I mean, you haven't seen it, but it's still happening.
He has his secret night milk.
Milkman, drinker of the night milk. Night milk just sounds like jizz, doesn't it? So basically,
it does. Yes, it does.
Yes. So effectively, that aside, voting time. Inglorious Bastards. It is his masterpiece. Over to you fuckers.
We're getting some horrible milk quotes in there.
I don't need to see it. I don't need to see it. Yeah. I'm sure you're going to, but I don't need to sit there.
Matt
It is.
Looks like Ash from Alien.
Split open. You know it's bad because it starts streaming out my eyes.
Cut you open, you bleed milk. Yep.
Yeah.
Secret night milk. Why is that so creepy?
For obvious reasons.
Because it's jizz.
But secret and night, anything that follows that is going to be bad.
He gets milk straight from the teat.
Unpasteurized.
Tyler, I will put you in timeout. All right?
You know what? I made that even worse because I misread it as milk straight from the feet.
Straight from these feet, Tim? Straight from the feet. Straight from the feet. So, you know how you make like nut milk and stuff, right? Where you
I don't
get a bunch
milk.
of nuts, get them. No, but like you make like almond milk and stuff. Like you get them wet.
I know what you're saying.
And they have like one of those like
It's such a perverse conversation.
things, and you kind of like wring it out, and it makes a milky type thing.
Can
you
you
do that
out,
with socks
yeah.
and like feet, where you like strain it out, and you would get foot milk.
Jack,
Just a bunch of severed feet.
You can milk anything. You can milk a cat. You can milk a sock. You can milk
foot.
This glass of water. No. Anyway,
and that was the Milky Bar Kid confirmed.
Nah, Milky Bar Kid was giving out chocolate. Fucking idiot.
That's true.
I'm the probably the bartender.
That is just a nut milk. That's what you need.
Yeah,
that's a thing. That's a totally innocent thing.
Tim brings up quite a lot the Rob Lowe thing, which is that he says, I can't remember the exact quote, but it's like every time he goes through a door and smiles in a film, he thinks, "Is this they're going to use in my Oscar in memoriam sort of clip?" It's like, oh, hang on a minute, is this the one when I eventually die? I'm convinced me saying I don't nut milk. It's semen like everyone else.
We'll
That's going to be the whole.
We'll add that to
here's a clip.
We'll add that to the Matt soundboard.
Yeah,
not a soundboard.
Dr. Vincent has nipples. Could you milk him?
Now let me put this very clearly.
It is his birthday.
It is, yeah. Special birthday treat. The secret night milk special treat for his birthday.
I will say this much to the world and to everyone individually, so it's all nice and clear. All right. When you like milk, you don't settle for any old bollocks. It has to come from some prime filtering. So whether I could or not is irrelevant, because I'm not gonna.
You're just not high enough quality material, Vincent. Sorry.
I don't want to offend people, but basically, yeah.
To quote,
we don't know what you've been eating. Have you been on Jersey pastures?
Yeah, I would need you to be. Yeah. You'd have to be like
Mayor Quimby. To quote Mayor Quimby from The Simpsons, "You promised me dog or better." No cat milk, no rat milk. Dog or better. Anyway.
God,
This has
one
all
point
been
we talking about Tarantino.
Jack putting off making.
Yeah, fuck you, Jack.
Wow, the classic deflection technique where I tried and failed.
Talk about
to do
Matt
something.
liking milk for too long.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I am the milkman. My milk is delicious.
I've talked about
Quotes
this before on the podcast, I think, but my high school nickname before I moved to Norwich was Milkman.
Of course
Have I
it
talked about
was.
Of course, it was.
I don't think
It's
so.
because my blazer was too long. 'Cause my mum bought me a blazer that would fit a fucking adult, and I was a small boy, just a little boy. And
Tom Holland
then I
size.
probably smaller, and then I grew. But then I got to Norwich.
Not possible.
I retained the milkman thing, and so they call me a milkman in London. So is that because you have a lot of sex? And I was like,
Yes.
yes.
Yes, it is.
Not because I had a big blazer and looked like a milkman walking around delivering bottles of milk. Didn't help. Got beaten up a lot. Anyway, moving on.
Inglorious Bastards.
Oh, I just won.
Bam.
Tim, what would you have gone for?
I'd have gone Inglorious Bastards.
Oh, clean sweep in the finale. Look at
Watch
that.
now as the ripples go from milk to excuse me, what? What the fuck? And they can get very angry very quickly.
Yeah.
Behold the face of Jewish vengeance.
Of Jewish victory.
There we go.
There it is.
Here's a question.
Okay.
Is my entire Patreon contribution just used by Matt for premium black market milk?
Not all.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, it is.
Not entirely, but you know, a sizable amount. What's a sizable amount? Is it 37% like the royalties on the fun-loving criminals? If so, then fuck you.
How you measure your milk is in percentage of royalties.
All you need to know is all the money from the Patreon, which we almost never see because it sits in a pot, goes back into the podcast, sometimes intravenously via me and my addiction problem to milk. Is that a crime? Not currently. And that's all I'll say about
Yeah,
that.
some sort of tax fraud thing, I'm sure.
Sure.
We're money laundering, but we're laundering using milk.
Exactly. The money milk.
Boys. Come on.
But yes, Inglorious Bastards is our winner. Perhaps controversially, perhaps not controversially. I think most people seem to be happy. Good.
Good.
Most people seem to be. And yeah, go back to our profile. There we go. We're back to the usual. Matt, you are blurry as fuck. Your connection is unstable.
It's all the milk veins I've got rather than wires in my house. Might need milk in
Just
the middle of the night.
IVs of milk.
Yeah, maybe.
Wouldn't put it past you.
Yeah.
Well, that is another film added to the Tournament of Champions that we'll have coming up soon, funnily enough.
Mhm.
Yeah. We will be doing our next live stream, of course, coming up in April. We have tentatively got that scheduled for the 30th, by the way, folks.
Mhm.
Just letting you know right now. That is the plan. Once we've got that confirmed with our guest, we will let you guys know, create the thing in the Discord, send out the tweets, and I'll set up the stream and all that kind of stuff. But do pencil us in for this time, probably starting at 5, possibly starting at 6. We'll work that out. But around this sort of time on April the 30th for our... Is that the penultimate one? Because the Tournament of Champions is going to be May, right?
This is the essentially the last qualifier. Then we've got the Tournament of Champions, and then
That's so weird.
We might be, I don't know, mixing it up. We may be doing some board games or something, and then who knows?
Yeah.
Give.
Have you got any ideas, viewers? Yeah, let us know in the chat.
I know people.
What would you like to see us do on live streams?
Like the highest rated acting, like an actor's highest rated movies. I know that's been requested a lot. As a similar thing.
Spin off into
Which is interesting. It counts like a tiny performance, like a cameo, and it's a really huge performance, or if it's a central performance. But either way, I'm terrified and fascinated by the prospect of the Tournament of Champions because just because.
Me too. It's
Jurassic
banger after
Park,
banger after banger, Matthew.
Fucking Inglorious Bastards, for example. I'm like, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
How do I rate this? What am I even basing this on? It's so weird. It's gonna be such a fucking mindfuck.
Couple more chats to finish off before we do our plugs and all that kind of stuff. Cool. Remy, unbelievably, is actually okay with the outcome of one of our tournament brackets. Is that the first time, Remy? I think that's
It
the
had
first
to
time you've
happen
actually been happy with
eventually.
the outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just had to find the film that has all the languages that he speaks in it, and then he's finally happy. Another question from Remy. Does the Tournament of Champions include the Christmas movie champion?
No, it does not.
No, it does
But
not. There you go.
once we've done 16
McTiernan?
Christmas specials, then we will do
Fucking-
Christmas champion.
I was about to say something real stupid and being like, we could do like holiday specials because there's so many Easter films. No.
A Passion
out
of
of
the
that
Christ
It's
versus Die Hard.
It's the Passion of the Christ versus Rise of the Champion, Rise of the Guardians, because it's got the Easter Bunny in it.
Yes, I like that film a lot.
Oh,
That's more
God.
of an Easter film than it is a Christmas film.
Jesus Christ. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us for this. If you have joined us live, thank you very much for joining us in the live chat and all that kind of stuff, and your contributions and all that kind of thing. If you're watching us later on YouTube, thank you very much. Please do subscribe, hit the like button, all the usual stuff that you do on YouTube to help share us on social media, all that kind of stuff that people do for YouTube channels and YouTube videos. If you want to talk to us on social media, we are, of course, Sequelisers. You can go to sequelisers.com. There's a link at the bottom right of your screen right now. You can see that. When you go to sequelisers.com, you can find all of our previous live streams archived in a nice little playlist on that page. All the previous episodes, the entire history of the show in an episodes format there as well. You can get all of our social media links. You can get links to the Discord, links to the shop. We will be launching merch soon for the anniversary coming up in May. I am waiting on the printer that I confirmed with like 2 weeks ago to sort out some merch, and I don't know what the fuck's going on, so I need to chase them up today. But yeah, we'll get there eventually. We'll have new merch soon, and we're getting excited for our 5-year anniversary and next month's live stream and the Tournament of Champions and season 10 of the podcast coming up soon as well. It's all kicking off. It's all kicking off, and I'm excited. Are you excited, Tim?
I'm very excited. I'm
Matthew, are you excited?
Ditto.
yeah.
Ditto. There you go. Well, thank you for joining us, everybody. We will see you next month, and please do listen to the podcast in the meantime. And thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.